Boom! And we are live with another episode of the Brownwater Banter podcast. My name is Jared Seymour.
My name is Joey Cates.
That is his name. And we have a great show for you this evening. We have Senator Brice Wiggins back on the show. Oh, we're doing cuts, not fades. Senator Brice Wiggins on the show. Again,
is this your first time to do this?
First time running the camera.
Okay,
yes, sir.
I got
Absolutely.
that. Right.
Absolutely.
Sure. Okay.
And I looked it up. I did a little homework. The last time you were on, it was episode 105, and this is now 137. So we're glad to have you back.
Far away.
That's right.
That's right.
And just as Joey just mentioned, today is a special day.
It's a big day today.
That's right.
It's been a big day.
It's been a big day today for all the Star Wars fans out there. It's May the 4th, man. So May the 4th be with all of you. That's right.
And tomorrow you can do the same thing because it's Revenge of the 5th.
That's right.
So if you didn't know
that's the new one. I have to admit that's a new one.
You might see some of these knickknacks down here on the table. It looks like Senator Brice here is he's definitely a fan. So we're going to talk about that too. But before we get into all the fun, we have to mention the people that support the show, man, and we couldn't be happier than the ones that we're working with over at Southern Magnolia Smiles.
Yep.
If you're looking for a great local dentist, they're located in on Washington Avenue in Ocean Springs. Dr. Robbie Williams and his friendly staff here, you can see. Check them out on the socials, man. They're on Facebook and Instagram at Southern Magnolia Smiles. If you want to check out their regular website, just go over to www.southernmagnoliasmiles.com. If you're looking to get your teeth clean, man, and you want to do it in a nice, caring, friendly environment and support a great local dentist, just give them a call at 228-215-1202 and book that appointment. You've heard us mention him many times on the show. Jesse Hill and his team over at Hill Tree Marketing. If you are looking for a website design, man, if you need a website for any reason, local business, it doesn't matter, for whatever reason, Hill Tree Marketing is your one-stop shop. They do the photography, they do the videography, they can create you a commercial. Very professional. Jesse and his team there built brownwaterbanter.com from the ground up
and won an
award-winning, and we're not
gold medal.
We're not going to stop talking about that until we win another one, and we'll talk about that award
that next year.
That's right.
If you say it enough, will it come true?
If you build it, they will come.
That's correct.
That's pretty much what we did.
That's correct. So go check them out over at hilltreemarketing.com, man, and tell them that Brownwater sent you. They've worked with a lot of local businesses here that you'd be familiar with. So coming right up now, next is Rocky over at Cedar Swamp. I'm going to flash the store here. I don't have his logo on there, but that's his store. He's located on Goche Van Cleve Road. He's got all your outdoor apparel, fishing tackle, fishing poles, rods and reels, man. If you need it, he's got it. Support a local business. You don't have to wait for 2-day shipping. Rocky's your guy. Extra tough boots, plastic baits, doesn't matter. He's got you covered. And Joey, show him Coastal Angler Mississippi
right
Magazine.
There. I don't have to show it. It's a staple now.
Yeah, check it out. It's at a bunch of different places.
And we're in it.
Yeah, they're free. So just pick up a copy the next time you see one at a business and thumb through it and stay connected with the local fishing community, man. It's a great magazine, and we're proud to be in it there. So moving right along, we've got the Downtown Ocean Springs Crawfish Cook-Off. That's going to be May the 28th of this year. Trevor Reed's doing it again. I wish I knew. 4th annual right there on the poster.
There it is.
We've been involved for a few of these, and I'm going to tell you right now, it is a great event. Downtown Ocean Springs, right across the street from Craft Advisory, a little bit down, but across the street from Downtown Golf Cart Rentals. You buy a band, you go in, you eat all the crawfish that's available.
Triple the crawfish this year.
Correct.
25 teams participating, live music, plenty of cold beer, $20 pre-sales, 25 the day of, and that's at downtownoceansprings.com.
Yes, go get your tickets or buy them the day of.
And we will be there slinging merch.
Right. And I got to say, that's my Senate district, and it's awesome.
Yeah,
there it is.
Yeah, it's a really good event. We can't brag about it enough. So, and then finally, last but not least, our friends over at Singing River Hospital reached out to us. They're doing their annual Derby Mixer. The Singing River Foundation, they raise money for charity. It's going to be this Saturday from 5 p.m. to 9 p.m. at the Hard Rock Hotel and Casino. You watch the Kentucky Derby. Everybody dresses up, wears the big funny hats.
I'll drink to that.
It's a really good time.
Mint juleps.
Yes, you can get tickets at the door. And one of the reasons it fits in our wheelhouse, other than just being a great, the Singing River Health System's local community, they're doing a 4 Rose bourbon tasting there as a part of your ticket and your entry. So if you want to go taste some 4 Roses and have some people talk to you about it, go check it out. That's going to be this Saturday, 5 to 9 at the Hard Rock. So now that we got that out of the way here, let's take it. Let's get down to the brass tacks and let's talk Star Wars.
So I mean that's what's important.
The most important thing facing our nation.
Who cares about
politics
Ukraine
aside
and all that stuff?
That's correct.
I'm just glad you brought those figures in.
These y'all don't understand. Do you watch the show like American Pickers and stuff?
Right.
This stuff would be
fan.
like valued at $1.75. No, really. This Luke right here was the first one I had. So remember, this one right here is probably what 40 years old.
Yeah,
Well,
what,
you said
68?
we didn't want to date you.
68,
You said it.
68 is when the first one
Well,
came
let's
out.
not go. No,
No,
Yeah,
it was
Star
sev-
Wars.
it
take
was
it
70s.
77.
68.
Was it
70? No,
68. Look it up.
I don't
I'm
know.
gonna Google it right now.
that. That's Google.
77.
I think it's 70s.
It's
No,
77.
you're gonna be
yes,
wrong.
it was.
Now
Stars.
maybe he started
77,
Star
and then
Wars.
Empire Strikes Back came out in 81, and then Return of the Jedi came out in 83, I think.
correct.
So this is one of the original. So is this one, Luke in his fighter pilot. So and then we have the
Joey, we knew Brice moved right
Thank
along.
you.
There was,
That's right.
he was not waiting for you.
and then we have the
Whatever.
fighter here. So but this I have to say, see, I know because I was
Yeah,
6 years
77,
old or
you all
7.
right.
I'm
Correct.
sorry, what?
77. You're right.
Say it again so the man
sorry.
can
I'm
hear
gonna
it.
take the shirt off. I'm
Yeah.
embarrassed.
He's not a true fan. He's not
That's
a true
exactly
fan.
right.
Yeah.
It
So
is.
that's when and saw it it came out. I guess I was 6 or 7 years old,
Okay.
and it was the most awesome thing ever.
Yeah, it was
And
great.
then, but here's the thing for people that don't, y'all have kids, right?
Yes.
Whose daughter was here?
Mine.
Yes.
Both of
Okay.
mine were here, yeah.
So when you have kids, it was living Star Wars all over again because this came. So it had gone in the closet, whatever, and then my son, believe me, he was like 1 day old, and I broke out these things and gave them to him, and so he had them and all of that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
So
it's a great way to
So
relive
you
your
pass
childhood.
it down. It's
I
a
passed it
family
down.
heirloom.
But the family heirloom, and so a lot of these, I don't know if everybody can see. So
Oh yeah, flash the
these-
camera there.
That's
yeah.
got to be the original box, though, right?
Hold on.
That
It
box
is the original
legit.
box. This
Yeah.
is from seriously, it's from like 1977 or
Oh, wow.
78.
Yeah.
So you
That's
had
bad.
that,
Love
and
it.
I remember. So gosh, I could go on forever, but
We got all
you
these-
realize
That's why we
what
brought you here.
you
Yeah.
realize what George Lucas, how he became a billionaire. I think he's a billionaire. He's a millionaire. You know what was the key to Star Wars? You know what he did.
I'm listening. Licensing and, and
Exactly.
toys. Yeah.
So
exactly.
that he whatever. I can't. They thought it was going to be a failure, and he said, "Well, look, I'm going to." He's like, "I tell you what, I'll pay for it. You just give me. I'm going to license it, and whatever." And his company licensed it and became like they created the licensing business for entertainment. So this was some of the stuff. This was the original box here. This was from about the same time, 1970, whatever that is. Certainly
That's
not
sweet.
1968.
No, it's not.
The best one is, and we were talking about Greedo.
Yeah.
So
Who shot first?
Who
Where's
shot
Han?
first?
Who
Yeah.
shot
so who
first?
did shoot first?
I personally think, knowing Han's personality, I
Han
think
probably
he shot
blasted.
first. He's shoot first, ask questions later kind of guy, and probably put out the disinformation that the other guy shot first. That's how he rolls.
Right.
That's how he rolls.
And
So-
we couldn't
That's
understand Greedo if he shot
Greedo.
first anyway.
He
right,
did.
true.
He
Honestly,
did.
honestly.
And so you had that, and then of course you got the good old boy Luke Skywalker.
That's right.
That's
So
your
you got
boy.
Okay,
I mean, that's a quintessential '70s look right there.
it is.
I mean,
That's
look at
my
him.
point. That's
Yeah.
why I like it.
Yeah.
Not all of this CGI stuff and all the
Mm-mm.
like Luke in a beard and
Mhm.
the old Luke or whatever. This
Yep.
is the original.
The OG.
He's missing his saber though.
That's
Sorry,
okay.
he's missing his.
All he's
saber.
got to do is use the force. And
That's
it'll
That's
show back
right.
up.
He don't even
Uh,
need a lightsaber.
But do you know what the key? I know y'all going, God, this guy's a
No,
nerd. But
no.
do you know what the key? Do you know what the key to Star Wars? Do you know what the hero's journey is?
Yes. Yeah. I've heard that before.
So
yeah.
it's about the hero's journey.
Correct.
That's what did it. So Luke was the hero, and he did his journey and all that. Stuff.
They a lot of people may or may not
He
know,
turned into a
but
ghost.
the first original edit, the first cut of that movie when they screened it, not when it went out to the public, but behind the scenes, was terrible. And his wife, George Lucas's wife, actually did a lot of the recuts to make it the
Really?
story that it. The story was like gonna be a lot different. And she fixed that. I watched the whole
the
documentary. It
film,
was cool.
the photo editing and the stuff that they did, the shots is unbelievable.
Yeah.
How they got those shots back in the day.
Yeah, and all the characters, not Harrison Ford and them on set were like, "What are we doing? This is," they didn't know what the end product was going to be. It was like
Yeah.
we're playing with these silly
right.
looking guns,
And they changed the world.
Yeah, and they did.
They changed the world.
So we've already got comments rolling in. I'm gonna go ahead and flash a couple on the screen here. Steve Singletary says, "Hey there, Mr. Wiggins. What do you say? You're doing a great job. I just want you to know that this is Steve Singletary, Night Abbey Printing in Biloxi."
Oh,
and
thank you.
And Joey,
Appreciate it.
your wife says that so you can't admit when you're wrong.
Oh,
Yes.
See what you did?
Yeah.
Look, that's my training.
see what
Prove
you
you
did?
wrong. But you were. It's not like you
I
were
was
off by
totally
like
No,
a few minutes. You
no.
were off by like
Right.
10
I
years.
guess I was thinking 70s to 80s instead of 60s to 70s.
I don't know, but like he said, if you'd have been like it was 73 and
Screwed up.
it was 74, we could have gave you a pass. But you were way
I
off.
totally fudged it.
All right, wait. So we got to rank the.
Let's do it.
We got to do the official Brownwater podcast.
There you go.
Podcast.
Vodcast.
I was looking at you.
The ranking of the movies.
That's
Yeah.
right. We got to do the ranking. So I don't. Y'all, it's your podcast, so you can start.
Well, I don't know. You're the guest here, so
Yeah,
the
you're
guest
first.
goes first.
Well,
so-
What's your? Just give us your favorite.
Okay,
Your favorite one.
Right. So it's hard because I was around, and I guess y'all are younger, but I was around when the first 1, 2, 3 came out. So the very first one, that's got to be the best, which is now, like we were talking earlier, is what, 4?
Excuse me.
I don't know. I call it the
Four.
first one,
Right.
A New Hope.
Right.
So that was the first one. That's where we were introduced to everybody.
Correct.
I actually am partial. So I'm partial to Return of the Jedi. I
Yes.
thought that was good.
Yes.
That
But
would
when you
be
go talk to people, they
6.
think Empire Strikes Back is actually probably the best
best
movie
one.
of the ones.
That's right.
But-
a lot of people hated the ending of Return of the Jedi with the
Right.
for some reason they hated the Ewoks, which I do
I
not
love the
understand.
Ewoks.
I know. And the speed bikes, like
That was killer when they're going through the forest.
I don't know.
And
But I
then-
could see this. I could see Empire Strikes Back as a good argument.
So then, and I have to say and I forget which line it is because that's sad, but it's when Anakin, the last one where he becomes Darth Vader.
Okay.
So, and they're fighting in the molten pit.
Yeah,
Correct.
he gets
And,
burned up.
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, you got to say that's like.
was a good
Obi-Wan
one.
burns him up.
Yeah, that was a good one.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's right.
All
So-
of the new well, it was the first set of new ones with Jar Jar Binks. Those are those are
think those-
questionable.
you start at the bottom
Yeah.
with Jar Jar.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but
Yeah,
then the last 3, they were so woke that they just kind
Yeah.
of ruined it to me.
I
That's
think
my
that.
opinion.
Well, I'll tell you what. I think so.
The
Gosh.
very last one wasn't that bad.
I
Is
like
that
the way
the
they
one?
tied it all in.
No, the first one of the last 3 I thought was very good.
I think it was the second one that was like super bad.
Correct.
Yeah.
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I wish
And
we
the
knew
first-
names. There's
So
so many.
this
Star-
is like, oh, we're real fans. huh?
Correct. There's so many Star Wars fans out there. That are like,
Right.
God, I'm not listening to this. Y'all don't even have the clout to be able to have an opinion.
But-
the way y'all do.
But I guess I guess you would call me the OG of Star Wars. Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Because
Yes.
I mean, for all these Johnny Come Latelys, we were here, 1977, by the
Hey.
way, when
was
it
wrong.
came out. And I remember, just to take a trip down memory lane, I think we were in Mobile. My mom took me. And I was like, I had to be 6 or 7. I was like, I got to see Star Wars.
I was
I
going
gotta
to
see
ask you
Star
when you
Wars.
saw that.
And it had, I think it was Mobile. Of course, at that time, I grew up in Pascagoula, and we had the Twin Cinema down, which is where the Lowe's is now in Pascagoula. But I remember it being in Mobile where we saw it. But I distinctly remember Return of the Jedi. I will tell you this. So that's for all these OGers out there.
Uh-huh.
The movie theater was in Gaucher at the old Singing River
Yes.
Mall.
Right.
Yes.
And I remember that I was like, we got to go see Return of the Jedi. It came out, and man, the line was around the corner, down the block, all that kind of
Nothing's
stuff.
changed.
No,
I mean,
it's still the same.
I
way.
mean,
It's
it
the
was.
same
I
way.
remember driving in the car and going, "Oh my gosh, these people!" And I just remember it coming out, and that was at the mall, and the movie theater was behind the mall. And for those that
the glory days.
the glory
of
days
Singing
back
River
then,
Mall.
that-
yeah.
well, I mean,
Right.
not too long ago, I was a grown human being and stood in line
Yeah,
at midnight
And
to
even
watch
when
the release.
Yeah, they'll say the ones that weren't that great. It's not like people aren't going to see them. It's not
No,
like
I mean, it's-
even. I'm still going to go see another one if it comes
Right.
out. you
Well,
know?
Correct.
sure. I mean, and it's just great, and they've done fabulous. So, but I think it's the I don't know why it lasts so long, but it has. But when I brought these out today, I gave them to my son. I said, "Oh, I'm coming on the podcast. I got to go find them," and they were in his room. So I remember again going over to my friend's house, and we would go in, and they had the whole setup, and we would sit down and play with Luke and Greedo and do all that stuff.
It brings
Pretend like it would
Yeah,
pretend
childhood memory.
That's right.
It brings
this
you
was
back.
before all the video games
Right.
and all that. Okay, see, that's what people I don't think understand, including my son.
You had to make your own.
You had to make it. Like we would sit here and go,
Yeah.
Greedo, you're bad, bang
Right.
bang, and
Yeah,
all that
shoot,
kind of
shoot,
stuff.
shoot. Yeah.
Yeah.
Pew,
Right.
pew, 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 pew.
Yeah. Well, it's
Greg
like
Williams.
it's like when we explain to our kids what it was like before the internet and cell phones and texting. So it's the same
Exactly.
thing.
That's
Same-
right.
Same kind of thing. They're like,
And
I don't understand
I don't
what you're
understand.
talking about.
So it was great. So Star Wars is, but and I remember when the one you were talking about, Jar Jar Binks, comes out. So and everybody was so excited, and I think people were just happy. They didn't think it was the best. They were just happy to
Have
see it
another
come
one.
back.
Yeah.
And the CGI that was available in the first Jar Jar one was
Mhm.
it was significantly better than what had been in previous ones.
Oh, yeah.
You know. So then people get mad that he went back and added all that into the old ones too. So anyway,
Can't win.
That's
You can't-
right.
you can't
So
win for
have y'all been to like Star Wars Con or whatever? Or
Mm-mm.
no, I haven't
No.
either. I have to actually work and stuff like that and have a job.
yeah, right,
and stuff.
exactly. Unfortunately,
But it is, at the end of the day. Oh, this is my favorite. So it is R2D2.
R2.
By the way, I was getting this out and I texted Lisa who works with me.
I'm a
and
huge
helps
fan
me,
of, by the way.
and she is.
And I haven't met her,
awesome.
just only through
No,
phone.
she's awesome. But I told her, I said C-3PO met his demise. So I don't have C-3PO here.
That's okay. It's not a real collection if
Yeah.
you don't have a couple missing pieces,
See,
especially from that. From
My
that
dog
era.
ate it. My dog ate it.
If you had all of them, I would
But-
think you bought it off
Yeah.
off of eBay or something.
But C-3PO was always he always had the one-liners. That's
Yes.
what was so good.
Yeah, that
And he was
great.
made of gold.
And
Yeah.
right.
Well, we think you don't know. It's an alien. It could've
He's
been
kind of
anything.
like the fisherman in Biloxi.
Yeah.
Okay, so
The
here's a
golden
question I
fisherman.
have in the what we call the first movie. So when they're in the garbage
Yes.
disposal,
Yes.
so it took an awful long time. They were screaming and yelling, and yet the walls were moving very slowly.
Correct.
And all of a sudden, I was kind of like, when I was looking at the watch, I was like, you'd be crushed by now. But
Well, I
It-
think
they-
you got to
yeah.
figure the same guy that built that trash compactor probably was an engineer on the Death Star and
Yeah.
left that
He
one
left that
single
big,
vent. Yeah.
huge, whopping
vent.
gap.
I
in
mean,
the
you're
middle of
talking
it.
you're talking thousands of hours of planning, tons of defense systems, and he left a vent open to
wide
the floor.
open that you could fly a plane through.
Of course, he didn't get the trash compactor correct. Of course. So,
that's exactly.
You
It's the one that one
thing.
weakness that
Yeah.
that's
One
there.
loophole.
yeah, some engineers like, I told you we shouldn't have hired Jimmy.
Yeah.
Jimmy sucks, and we
Sucks.
did, and it was the whole demise of the whole thing.
Well, we got to get ventilation in here
Yeah.
somehow.
What do you want to do, guys?
Yeah.
You didn't want to cop for the extra force field.
Admiral oh no, I'm sorry. This was what's his name, but I don't have Admiral Akbar. But he became more famous
Because he became a meme.
It's a trap.
It's a
That's
trap.
right.
It's a trap.
Yeah.
It's a trap.
Oh,
That
that's
became a
right.
thing,
Okay,
yep. So he
there you
He's
go.
a one-liner. He's got the best one-liner ever.
He's like the Cash Me Outside girl. You know,
It's a
he had
trap.
that one liner and he made it turned his whole career around. If you know what I'm
That-
talking about from Dr. Phil.
No, I
You
don't.
did
Sorry.
good. Then don't look it up. You don't want to know about it. It's not worth it.
So
they-
and look, I'm going to wade in. We talked about this before we went on air.
Yep.
I'm going to wade in, but I'm going to be careful.
Go ahead.
Okay. But every guy my age, their coming of age was Return of the Jedi and with Jabba the Hutt and Princess Leia.
Correct.
yes.
I mean,
That was no accident the
it-
way she was dressed.
no, it
No.
wasn't. It is a coming of age
Mhm.
moment
Mhm.
in a young boy's life at that time.
Correct.
and she was
Okay.
smoking.
Smoking hot. And she probably was very smart. Wasn't
You
just
should, that exactly right.
Yeah.
It was good.
God
So-
rest her soul.
right.
But
Yeah.
okay, so if you want to actually, so let's bring it forward. I see I could go on forever, but so we're watching The Mandalorian, which is on, which is an offshoot or whatever. I think it was The Mandalorian, but back in Return of the Jedi when they threw him into the pit
Mhm.
or
Yep.
whatever. So actually, The Mandalorian, the one I was watching, they did that. And they did it from below, like it showed what it looked like when
Yeah,
they went
and he
down into the pit.
escapes.
And he escaped.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yes.
that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He escapes the Scarlac.
Yeah. Better.
The
better.
Scarlac.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
He's
okay.
trying to redeem himself from that 68.
He is,
comment
that's
from
right.
earlier.
He's in the desert.
Yeah. Better CGI. They can show you more stuff. You
Yeah,
don't have to leave
that's
stuff to the
right.
imagination.
But actually, it's really it's part of our childhood, at least my childhood.
Absolutely.
it
So
was for us
you can,
because 83 Return of Jedi, that's when we were coming up. And for me, it was always on television, like kind of like on repeat. So if you had a day off from school,
TBS.
yeah, you stayed home
Turner
from school.
Broadcasting
There's a great
Network.
chance you were doing an all-day Star Wars marathon. So
that's right.
that was
Which
great.
was 2 movies. All day.
yeah, well, that's true. Yeah, as long as they are, yeah, for sure.
But and then the first the first whatever reboot with Jar Jar, of course, what's his name? Hayden Christensen. No, I'm sorry. I'm getting my movies mixed
Yes,
up.
you are.
But it was Anakin as the kid. But when he grew up, he was not. The acting was not good.
Right.
But it was never about the acting. It was always about the story and the special
Correct.
effects.
Correct.
Correct. So that was good.
Well, they always said that Star Wars was politically based.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, it had the Senate and
Yeah,
the
they
overthrow.
always said-
internal
Okay,
overthrow
so
of the
now
government.
thank you for saying that, by the
Yeah.
way,
Mhm.
because that actually, I've gone back because of my position and
Right.
all. I actually have gone back to try to figure all that out and Tatooine.
Don't
and
try
the
to steal any of
Senate.
those ideas, though. It didn't work out very well.
No,
for
it didn't, and they have all that, but it was when the emperor how it because it started out as the Senate and the
Well, started out as a good
democracy.
thing.
Good thing,
Yeah.
Correct.
and then the emperor took over.
Pretty prophetic. If that's a word, right?
That's-
Prophetic.
it's-
Yeah.
Well,
I think it is.
I think it could be a lesson, to
Yes.
be quite honest.
Yeah. Well, what a
So-
great transition that was.
Too much government.
Here we go.
Too
Yeah.
Too much coverage. Yeah.
Do we have to talk real politics?
We'll
and
get
all
back
that
into
stuff?
Star
Unfortunately,
Wars.
we do.
Golly.
Now we can dance in and out of Star Wars if it's
Okay.
appropriate on any of the topics that we
Yeah,
cover
that's right.
here.
Well, before we move on,
Sure.
we have to talk about the stormtroopers
We do.
because the question was always, what did it say on the back right there? Did that say oil, or did they have to fit? Was it just a suit, or was it? Were they
you're talking about
robots?
just? I don't remember that in the movie.
There
They
was
had
a
writing?
perforated thing on the back. Yeah.
That's right.
Okay.
So,
It
I
was
don't
like
even remember that.
I think it was their plate that identified who they were.
so understanding how the stormtroopers came out of the
Correct.
Clone Wars
Correct.
was always it took a little bit of understanding.
And I think
Yeah,
that
that goes back to Boba Fett and Jango Fett. He had
Yeah.
them commissioned.
But also they were trying to build an army for the Empire who was they were good at the time.
They turned bad.
and then they turned bad because they got too much power and too many.
Let that be
military.
a lesson.
Yes.
That's right.
George Lucas was
He was prophetic.
Yeah, he had a lot of writers though too. I think, but they did tie it all together pretty
Yeah, it
well.
was cool.
I'll give them that, even though there was
No,
some
they
bumps
did.
along the way.
So it's been great. Thanks for this trip down memory
Yes,
lane.
I loved it.
And it's
great.
all on video. You can watch this forever.
True. Very
My
true.
wife is sitting at home going,
Yeah, what are they?
Yeah,
What
that's
a
what he's
nerd.
doing.
This is why he's not home to sit and talk Star Wars
Wars,
with these two
yeah.
knuckleheads. Yeah,
But at least I was right.
Yes,
True.
you were.
True.
I was wrong again. I told you I was wrong.
true. These are
What's
I
your
admit when I'm
What's your
wrong.
wife's name?
Heather.
Heather.
Oh, that my wife's name is Heather too.
Guess
But
ask him what his wife's name is.
Heather.
Correct.
Are you serious?
Yeah, I saw that when I was on your page earlier. I was going to bring it up.
Oh my God!
beat
You
me
just
to it.
got. I was gonna say Heather. Did you hear he was wrong? But
Yeah, she
Wow,
said it.
that's
She's
interesting.
she's already latched on that. She's probably already got editing software on her phone and has clipped that part
Yeah.
where he said it, and she's just going to play it
just
on
blasted
repeat
it on the
for night.
internet.
Yeah. So no, last time you were on though, we
well, thank y'all.
yeah,
Mhm.
absolutely. I feel like we talked state politics. Your state senator
Mhm.
representing District of Pascagoula. What district is that number?
It's
50?
Senate District 52.
That's what I thought,
And
52.
it represents Pascagoula, Goshen, Ocean Springs, including Hickory Hills, and that area.
Okay. And but now you're here for a different reason because you're going to
Yes.
run for District 4 in the United States House of Representatives.
Yes, it's the congressional race, U.S. House of Representatives. The election is June 7th.
Okay.
And so I think, I can't remember what time period it was when I was back here earlier, but it's June 7th. And actually, I excused my appearance, but I was out shaking hands and
Rubbing
and
Kissing babies.
rubbing elbows
Yeah,
and
kissing
knocking on
babies.
doors.
Yeah.
So before I came here, but yes, June 7th, and there's a number of people running, but I think as the campaigns have gone on, people have seen that we can do the job, and I can tell you, I've gone from Picayune to Laurel to Gulfport to Perry County to Loosedale. People are fed up with what we got going on
Sounds
in
like
DC, and we'll talk
Yeah.
about that. I know you want
Yeah.
to talk about the state stuff, but
yeah, just
they
and-
want to see something happen
Right.
and do that.
And that seat is currently held by
Well, that seat is currently held by Mr. Palazzo,
right.
and Mr. Palazzo, for those, I think it seems like most people know, but he has ethical violations against him.
you actually mentioned that on the last episode you were
Did.
here. Yeah.
And since the campaign with there's a number of other candidates, but they've all raised that. We had a debate last night in Ocean Springs at the Mary C, and they talked about it. And Mr. Palazzo chose not to appear, and he has ethics violations for misappropriating funds and stuff like that. And as I pointed out, excuse me, last night, that's not who we are. And
Right.
I was a prosecutor. Personally, I was a prosecutor before I went into the Senate. And it's about doing the right thing. And we are about following the law and doing the right thing. And at the end of the day, we know what's going on in D.C. And it's become about self-interest and self-dealing. And that's what people have told me. I've talked to tons of people. The other people in this race have talked to tons of people, and they're sick and tired. I'm sick and tired of it. But yes, he's the incumbent. And, we're better than that. Bottom line.
I like it. I like it. We mentioned it last time it was on. He can show up and sit on here on the podcast and defend anything that we say.
That's exactly
or
right.
that you may say today. So that's an open
Seats
invitation.
open.
Yeah. At any time. So get that out there. But like we mentioned before we went live, if we could, we'll start maybe with some state stuff, because that's where you're at now. And some things have changed since the last time we talked to you. Mainly, I think one of the big topics that we were on last time you were here was with the medical marijuana.
Yep.
And the whole kind of fiasco that went along with that. But I do believe, and I go a lot off of former Mayor of Ocean Springs, Shay Dobson. He's heavily entrenched with the Citizens Alliance movement that he has.
He's got a competing podcast. Sorry.
I saw you were on that too.
I was.
I wouldn't say competing, because Shay's such a good friend of ours.
We'll help him out.
Yeah. We're
Shay's
cohorts here. We're fighting the same
And
sport.
he's always rocking our hat when he gets on TV.
Yes, and
That's
we
good.
appreciate
Good.
that.
Shay's
Yeah.
good.
But no, so he gave it the thumbs up as best I can tell. So can we go back and talk about
Sure.
that? So
Please.
y'all, we mentioned people had been living under a rock to not know how that went down, but the state constitution had to have been ratified to pass it through the ballot initiative, correct? Had y'all went forward with
Well, to explain it, so Initiative 65 was the referendum procedure by which it passed.
Correct.
Okay. And then it went to the Supreme Court through a challenge, and the Supreme Court ruled that the referendum procedure by which it went to the voters was unconstitutional. We can talk about that, but that is what was happening.
Correct.
What happened. And then they ruled it unconstitutional. So what that meant was that the legislature had to address it, and we were going to address it. And I think when I was on here, I told y'all that we were going to do it. It was going to be the first bill.
Yes.
And in fact, it was the first bill. And for those that don't know, the legislature meets January for 90 days to the end of March.
Correct.
Okay. And so we've been out for about 3 weeks or whatever, 3 weeks. And so that was the first bill we took up, and we said we were going to do it. And so the legislature, people thought we didn't have to, but we heard and saw what people wanted in terms of a medical marijuana program, and we did it.
Yeah.
And so that bill got passed. And I will tell you, before we got to that point, the Senate, and I'm on the Public Health Committee, we held hearings last summer when that happened. So we went into the session in January, but before that, during the summer, we had hearings, and we heard from legislators and supporters and detractors all throughout the summer, and that helped us craft the bill to get where we got. And even there were supporters, and the name's escaping me right now, they testified before us, and they told us, they said, look, there were some things in Initiative 65 that were a problem.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
And for example, one of them was the zoning issue. And what we were able to do was to come back and craft a piece of legislation that met for the wishes of 3 million people in the state of Mississippi. And I think that's why Shay, to his credit, has said, look, I appreciate what they did. No, we didn't give everything that 100%. Okay. Yeah. But we got a bill, and we got it passed, and we got it passed quickly,
where everybody's happy,
where everybody can do what they have. So that's where it came from.
I think some of the bigger issues that y'all did address was people were worried about barriers of entry, right?
Correct.
Like keeping the mom and pops and the people who may not have $500,000 of assets, all right, couldn't participate in the game. That isn't something I'm trying to say. Correct. Y'all did not do that, which was good, right?
Correct.
And Shay has mentioned that. So kudos to the all the state legislatures for making that happen. Well, what about
Jared? I want to say this because I had somebody say that, and I get it. People in the marijuana industry, whichever part of it you were in, they didn't have faith or trust in the legislature. Okay, I think y'all admit that.
100%.
Yes.
Yes. It seemed very fishy.
Right.
Knowing
Correct.
that process, that they knew there was holes in it, and that it kind of seemed like they were sitting on that as kind of like a trump card to
yeah.
get out of jail free card kind of a
Right.
thing from people on the outside looking in.
I 100% agree. Excuse me. And by the end of it,
Mhm.
I had cannabis people who were in the industry saying, thank y'all for what you did.
Right.
We had faith in that, and they were happy.
Mhm.
And from that standpoint, it was because we listened to the people. Now, I regret that it took Initiative 65 for the legislature to act, if you will, because I will sit here and say, I don't think the legislature would have acted if not for Initiative 65. That being said, we did, and we worked together. And people think that that at least on the legislative level, we'll talk about DC, but
Yes.
people think that we're not there and we don't want to help and we're only in it. No, I think the legislators want to help. We listen to the people.
Well, it's your hometown.
Yeah,
It's where you
you got
live,
to,
right?
It is, and you go back and see them, and that's, by the way, that's the difference between DC and here. Is
Correct.
guess what? You get to have to go to church every
Right.
Sunday.
Right. You
Right.
got to live with
See
the
'em.
people. Yeah.
But at the end of the day, we listened, and we listened to what the people wanted from both the medical side and the business side, and we heard what literally was good in other states and what was bad in other states. I'll give you for instance, in Oklahoma, it's as wide open as you could be, and honestly, people said it became just a freaking shootout kind of thing.
Yeah. Trashy.
In Utah, or I think, or California, they said there was too much regulation.
Yeah.
And so what we learned was we needed to be somewhere in between that's where we ended up. And I think we got a good piece of legislation that certainly the health care folks felt good about it. And the business interests all seem to be happy about it because it allows them to do what they wanted to do. So, but to me, that's how things should work. Okay. That us legislators should be listening to the people. Okay. We should be listening because we're the ones who implement those things. Now, the reason, going back to the Constitution, the reason everybody was so, at least the elected officials were so upset or whatever, was because Initiative 65 put it into the Mississippi Constitution.
Correct.
That's a extreme issue. The legislature is there. It meets every year. You can change it. You can update it. You can do it.
And I understood that when
Yeah,
you
I
said
thought
it.
Yeah,
you
we
brought that
talked
up
about
last
that.
time. It can't be changed once it's passed.
It can't be
right?
changed.
Yeah.
And so, and literally, we had I think it was the director from Michigan who told us, he said, y'all, you will be dealing with a marijuana bill every year in the legislature.
Right.
But that's why the legislature meets. But the thing is, you have to, you're elected, or you elect people to do that, and you have to hold them accountable, and they need to meet with you. I've said it. I think I said it on your podcast. If they won't meet with you, then go elect somebody else, because that's what they're there for, or that's what they should be doing.
Yeah.
So anyway, I could go on, but
no. I think that's a great answer, and I was proud to see that. My only other question to that would be: has the ballot initiative process been corrected and fixed? Did y'all do that this session?
Okay, so that's the short answer is no. And that's a shame. Through the Supreme Court's actions, they ruled the process unconstitutional. And at that time, I explained to y'all that what it was you had to get had to get signatures from the old five congressional districts. Well, we don't have five, we have four.
Right.
And so they ruled, because of how it was, that was unconstitutional. So we tried the House, it was a House bill. We tried to do it, and then it came to the Senate, and it died in the Senate on basically the last day. And the dispute became about how many signatures you had to get on the ballot. I will tell you this, the political will is there to do it. And I've said from day one, this needs to happen.
Okay.
I said, I am supportive. I want a referendum process by which we can do it. But I think when I was on here before, what I said was that the Mississippi Constitution guarantees the referendum process, but it's up to the legislature to define how that process works. And in states across the country, how that works is different from state to state. Okay, some states put it in the Constitution. Some say no. If the referendum happens, then the legislature has to address the issue, but they get to do it. Other ones say the issue can be done, but it can't be appropriated. The money can't be appropriated by referendum process. And that's what was happening with 65. So what was going on was, what is the best referendum process by which we need in the state of Mississippi?
So it sounds to me, though, technically, like Mississippi, as it currently sits, has no ballot
Correct.
initiative process.
Yeah.
That, to me, in and of itself,
Is
seems
a problem.
a huge problem.
Huge.
And what
I agree.
incentive does both houses have to fix that? Again, to be, I guess, looking at it in a negative light, why would y'all want to fix it? Right? I mean, outside looking in.
I'm going to let a cat out of the bag. There are some people in the state capitol that would be happy not to have one.
Right.
But understand this, and I don't want to get too technical, but there's a thing called sovereign immunity. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And the state, under law that came from England, the state did not have to give a referendum process. Okay. This goes back all the way since the founding of the country. But over time, states said, we will give you that option, you, the public, to have a referendum process. So, because legislatively, you didn't have to do that. So, it's a problem that we don't have it, but I think the political will is that we need to have it. And so when we come in January, I think you'll see that
of 23.
Of 23.
Okay.
That's right.
All right.
But we're having some difficulties, but I think we're back on.
Mine's showing that we're still good.
No, we're good.
Yeah, let's keep
So
rolling.
if we lost, we're still
they're still good. I haven't seen any blackouts, but so I think you said this a second ago, though, right? So hold your legislatures accountable. Right.
Exactly.
Vote them out if they won't fix this, because it's in their best interest. I feel like, and you're sitting right here, but they're not in a rush to fix that, is how I hear it. And
no, I don't think that's right.
Okay.
I think people want to, because it actually passed the House.
Okay.
It got a lot of traction in the Senate, and it got down to one issue
The
that couldn't be. No, it was in committee that couldn't be decided. It became down to
signatures.
Signatures. If that had been resolved, then I think you would have had it.
Do you remember what it was versus what it wanted?
I don't remember specifically, but at the end of the day, I wanted to say it was like 15 to 20% of people have to get the signatures.
Okay.
So I think the will is there. But let me say this: yes, hold your legislators accountable, but this is the time to do that. Call them up. Let's have a meeting. Let's have an organized meeting. Don't wait until January.
Right.
Right. It's too late
to do that.
I'm gonna pull my phone.
And by the way, next year's an election year in the state legislature, so the legislators want to make you happy.
Yes.
So they're going to say a bunch of stuff.
Well, I hope that's not the case, but
to make us vote for them.
Right. The next issue that I'd like to jump to, if I feel like we've covered that one.
Well, I just want to say on the marijuana, I think it's a game changer for the state of Mississippi. And what's interesting to me is seeing what's going on with the opt-in and the opt-out of all the communities.
Yeah. Hancock County just did it.
D'Iberville and Pass Christian, as far as I've heard.
Okay.
Well, yesterday was the last day, right? To opt in.
Yes, because there were
you have to opt out, correct?
You have to opt out, and then
you're automatically opted in.
And then there's a certain petition that forces the communities to opt back in to do that within a certain amount of time. And so what you're seeing is these communities, they're opting out as a default mechanism. And then if people will organize and get there, then they will be forced to opt back in.
So they're just going to sit back and watch until it looks cool. And then...
But I will tell you, in Pascagoula, Ocean Springs, and I think Gaucher, all the the cities that I represent, they've all said we're going forward with it.
Yeah.
And I can't remember. I can't remember all of them. I will say this: on the Initiative 65, the vote passed with no less than 55% in any county. Okay.
Yeah. Total was like 70
something. The lowest percentage was probably in up around George County, and that. I'm not really sure why these cities are opting out, because the people have spoken. Okay,
there you
they
go.
spoke 70%. Why are I realize,
safe.
and I'm all about local government, but the people spoke.
Financial interest, possibly.
No, I think what it is that people are concerned about
Old ties.
what it can lead to,
Yeah.
crime and
Correct.
that kind of stuff. But I think the state legislation was pretty good in regulate. That's why you have a legislature. That's why you regulate
Right.
to do that. And so, we'll see where that goes.
Yeah.
But
D'Iberville was the most recent one that I heard. I think
I didn't see that. I didn't see where they opted out. They did.
They did. And they said it like this: we're not so much as opting out as they
Right.
said it better than I'm going to say it, but we're waiting to opt in later. They want to
That's
see
right.
how it plays out in some other
Correct.
places so they can
Well,
craft
it's
a
kind
better
of like
way
a
for their
fight. Everybody wants to
that's
like,
right. And there
get
are
to the
some
outside, and then
there
two
are
people jump
some
in.
I'm sorry, that's right, but there are some places in Mississippi, for example, I think in Canton there's like this huge warehouse, and they're like in Canton, Mississippi, and they're
That's
already
huge grow.
That's
huge
Winston
grow,
and them.
all that stuff.
That's Winston
Good.
Caesar.
Good
and,
for it.
Yeah.
There, I've heard that there's places here on the coast, so I do think those communities are looking to see how that plays out.
Yeah.
What I think they will find is what we found in the state legislature, which is people want it.
Yeah. And now you're going to be behind.
And now you're going to be behind.
Correct.
I will give credit to the areas where I represent, Pascagoula, Ocean Springs, and all, and they're saying, look, we're ready to jump on board. We're going to regulate. Okay, that's our right to do. But we're going to, it can bring money in. People have said they want it. There are people that truly, truly need it for medical needs.
Yeah.
And so it's, that I think that's good. And there's also a political aspect to all this. People say, oh, if you do that, you just want people to walk around and be dope heads and stuff like that. I just think that's, as people got educated, like the legislature, then you find out that it's a good thing from the medical side of the marijuana situation. I mean, even the Governor Reese had his stake on that, and then he ultimately signed the bill because he got to hear
the 11 joints a day to whatever it was.
Which is a little weird because of the opioid crisis that we're in, and no one's really beaten that drum like they should, and the pharmaceutical companies have raked in so much money. I mean, it's the number one killer of U.S. citizens between 18 and 40-ish, somewhere around there, even during COVID. So to debate joint numbers, to me, what Tate Reeves
11 joints a day,
was slightly weird to me. And Shay, this is not my point. Shay made a great point. The Republicans typically don't want government in their health care.
Correct.
And they were not for that when Obamacare was the hot button issue. And then they jumped right in bed with it with this marijuana thing. So I would disagree there. It's kind of like
a good point.
Two conflicting thoughts there. But
you mean a politician would be hypocritical?
I can't believe that.
Senator Wiggins, say it ain't so. All right. I feel like we've covered that fairly well, and that was kind of a recap from the last time. I got my phone out here because I want to
pull it out, bro.
I want to credit Frank. You may know Frank Corder.
I do.
Okay. Frank messaged me about this, and I mentioned it to you already, but it was an article that came out. I think it was Y'all Politics is what he sent me. And I'll just read my little note here that the state wants to divert wind pool money to state employee insurances that I'm assuming is now underfunded, will be underfunded.
I'm going to try to be as succinct as possible.
All right, here we go.
After I had one drink.
Hey, listen, this is
loosen up a little bit.
This is just a chat. Ignore the cameras and the fact that we're live on multiple social platforms.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. Let loose here.
So the wind pool was set up after Hurricane Katrina because of everything that we went through.
Correct.
The wind pool is set up as a last resort for home insurance, for wind insurance. And what happened after Katrina was the insurance companies left.
Yes.
Okay. You could not get insurance. Okay.
Correct.
So over a period of time, what happened, and the state said, we're going to do this, and instituted different kind of funding mechanisms. And where we got to was that the wind pool has hundreds of millions of dollars in place based on this. And so because honestly we have not had a catastrophic storm right,
don't do it.
Knock on wood.
Knock on wood.
And what funds the wind pool?
Well, let
you
me
pay
make it
Your
easy.
Mississippi wind pool insurance policies,
Well,
correct?
well, no, it's premiums, but also this is what happened this year. It was
Okay.
called the non-admitted policies, and so believe me, it's very confusing. Bottom line is, it's a tax on on certain insurance policies
Okay.
that get put in there. That, by the way, the insurance companies agreed to after Hurricane Katrina to stabilize the market.
Okay.
All right. So what has happened with that money, as happens in Jackson, people come out and say, "Oh, there's all this money, and we're going to take it
Right.
away from you."
Right.
Okay. And that is what happened with the BP funds.
Correct.
And I stood in the Senate and fought against that along with my colleagues. That's what happened again. Every time we get money on the coast, people want to take it. All right. So what
Especially
happened,
up in Jackson.
especially up in Jackson this year, that wind pool legislation came up for renewal. Okay. If it didn't get renewed, it would go away. And then there would be people who would not have wind insurance.
Correct.
And all that goes with it. Okay. So during the session, there were people that wanted to take money out of the wind pool and send it somewhere else and fund your state pension plan or whatever it is. Okay. The state pension plan's been, quote, underfunded for years.
Right.
Okay. And people were wanting to do this. And it was in the coast delegation, and that in the Senate, that includes myself and Senator Delano and Senator Moran and Senator Thompson and Senator England. We were not happy with that. Okay. Because we said, what in the world if another catastrophic storm comes? And this is what we were trying to tell people in Jackson. It's there for this reason. It was set up for this reason, and y'all are trying to take the money away from us.
It's working.
It's working.
Don't break
Don't do
it.
it.
It's working.
So what happened in the Senate was the bill came up, and there's a lot of things going on, but in the Senate it came up, and literally on the floor of the Senate, I started the questioning, and it was joined in by every other coast senator. And we knew, I think when I was on here before, I said at the end of the day, we don't have the votes on the bottom three counties. There's 52
Correct.
senators.
Correct. Y'all can get
You
bullied.
got 7.
Yeah, you got bullied around.
At the end of the day, 45 is more than 7. Okay.
Yes.
But you can make a statement. Right.
1, 2, 3,
and
4.
so
Yeah,
we
yes,
did
yes,
that. We
yes,
stood
yes.
up and we questioned, and actually the person who was handling the bill in the floor, he was like a deer in headlights. He's like, "Oh my gosh, the coast people are coming after me." So so we made a point, and
Don't
then,
mess with us.
That's
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
And then it goes back to the House, and Representative Hank Zuber is chairman of insurance in the in the House, and it got over there. And so what you had this big fight that went all the way to the end of the session that came about. You're taking money away from the coast. And actually WLOX did a crawl for a whole weekend that said they're trying to take money out of the wind pool that's going to raise your rates and stuff like that. And so we weren't going to stand for it. Things being what they are and actually trying to make things happen, at the end of the day, where it ended up was we will keep the money in the wind pool, but a certain percentage of that will go to rural fire trucks, rural. So
I mean, okay, I support the fire department for
That's
sure.
what
But
I'm
that,
saying.
that ain't
it's not terrible.
what I did,
that ain't employee insurance.
I know. Well, okay. So, I should have said that. I'm sorry. That's what they wanted to do, was employee insurance. I stood up on the Senate floor and I said, well, hold on a minute. If you're wanting to divert money, let's divert it to a fund that can help us on flood insurance. Okay. Because if
that
you
makes
know,
more sense.
That makes
because
way
if you
more
know
sense.
that flood insurance, because look, flood insurance has gone up from
Yes.
500 to 8,000. And by the way, that's a federal government program.
Correct.
And
People
by
don't-
the way, our local representatives in the federal government have not addressed this, and I've stated this will be one of the first things I work on. Bottom line is, flood insurance is a federal program. People's flood insurance is going up and up and up.
It's ridiculous.
Okay,
Yes.
DC is out of touch. All right, so I stood on the Senate floor and I said, look, if you're going to divert funds, okay, you need to divert them to a fund to help us with flood insurance, rising flood insurance, because after Katrina, we're required to have flood insurance.
Correct.
That's what I was talking about. Okay. So, but then so it moved away from the health insurance or whatever,
Right,
the
employee
retirement
health insurance, yeah,
to that,
or
which
yeah, state
then
employee health
also
insurance.
going on in the state was your rural fire truck, rural fire departments, and we want to support our first responders and things like that. So the compromise at the end of the day was we're going to take a little bit of that money and send it to your rural places like Stone County, George County, allow them to help with their fire departments, and keep money in the wind pool. And I will say there is an amount in the wind pool, if you do out the projections or whatever, that okay, there may be enough you can divert a little bit based on the storm. So if let's just say a category 2 storm comes and all that, it's not going to bankrupt the system and all that stuff like Katrina.
Okay.
Right.
I don't know. I hope people didn't go to sleep on that.
No,
but-
I think you'd be more surprised that that's important to people around here,
and that's what I tried to tell people in
massively
Jackson.
important.
I just want y'all to know. I talked to the lieutenant governor, and I said, look, I get it, but y'all got to understand what this means for us down on the coast.
It's everything.
And those people up there do not recognize that. And I think when they saw the coast senators stand up and I started the questioning and look at and make those questions of the chairman, it was an issue that was not going to go away. And we continued to get there. And so that's what happened.
Okay. I feel slightly better about that. I mean,
you have your representation. And I will say this goes back to the influence that the coast has. I mean, part of our strategy or part of our leverage, if you will, was Representative Chairman Zuber from Ocean Springs being there. Hank.
Yeah.
Hank does a good job.
Oh,
Hank does a good job. And you have a coastie in that position.
Yes.
But you also have a coastie in the House Appropriations Chairman. I'm chairman of Judiciary A. You have Scott Delana, who's chairman of the Technology Committee, and that. You have some influence in the state legislature, and that's a good thing.
I agree.
You should.
And
Coast is bringing in some money.
Is that
Right.
something? I mean, like anything else, but that could be revisited at every year.
Well, okay,
right?
so this is interesting.
That's a big bone hanging out there with a little piece of meat on it, or a big piece of meat on it.
This is where I think Hank, Representative Zuber, really came into play. We had what's called a repealer, meaning that after every 3 years, it comes back up for the legislature to look at. Okay. And that's why we had to do this, because otherwise it would have gone away. In the compromise, what it said was we're taking that out, and it's now law. The wind pool is there. Okay. So it's not subject to
diversion.
Correct.
So it stays on the coast.
It's bulletproof in that regard.
Yes, as much as you can.
As much as you can be. Okay.
Right.
Correct.
I like that.
That's right.
I like
That's
that.
right.
Okay. Next topic before we get into the federal stuff. Last state topic, unless you got something, but here's where one of the topics, Joey, it hits home with him. Joey is a high school teacher, so is his wife. And teacher pay, the pay increase that they just got was
largest teacher pay increase in the history of the state of Mississippi.
Yes.
Okay.
It's been a while.
It has.
It has. Well,
it has been a while.
Let
Here
me
we go. Let's get down
let
in
me
there.
be
Here we go.
honest.
Go ahead.
Over the last couple years, we did give $1,000 pay
$1,000,
raises.
yes.
Okay. That being said, we had hearings. I've been on the Senate Education Committee, and what we heard was those pay raises were not keeping up with
Cost
the
of
cost of living and
Well,
stuff.
to be fair, no matter what you're in, is keeping up with the rampant inflation that we're seeing right now.
Gas is
But
$4 a gallon.
we'll get to that. We'll get to
Biden.
that. Right. Okay, let's go. Never mind. So, all right. So let's go back to teacher pay.
Yeah.
Well,
so,
I think that the main thing is we were the lowest
correct.
teachers in the nation.
Well, here's what we found when we were doing the hearings, and I think it was very good. What we found was your very experienced teachers were actually being paid either on par or higher than other states. Okay, your entry teachers were being paid around the same, actually on par. What it was your mid-level teachers were way below. Okay, those that had, let's just say 5 to 10 years or 10 to 15 years, they were not being given what they needed and deserved. And so we were about fixing that.
Yeah.
How
So,
long has your wife been a teacher?
I have been a teacher for 16 and she's been a
Okay.
teacher for 15.
See,
We're
so
not
y'all,
we're not that old.
Yeah.
That's
But
not
see,
gonna be right.
y'all fell into the category.
Correct.
You fell into that category.
But when we started, it was
correct.
real.
Well, I understand.
I mean, you're talking about $36,000 to teach school for a year, 35, 34, somewhere.
Correct.
Around there, I think
But
is where it
also,
was.
and look, I'm not defending, but you also have your retirement paid, and you also have your insurance paid. And when you do the calculations, it's yes, 36,000 salary, but then what the cost of the benefits are and what the cost of the retirement is. And
Yeah,
things
but
like
I ain't gonna
that.
say anything about that insurance because it ain't real good.
Well, I don't
Well-
honestly. I don't disagree with that.
Yes, and go find one that is good.
You're right.
That's how I feel
And,
about that right
insurance
now
is
too.
tough everywhere.
I work for the hospital systems, and mine premiums are through the roof. And
Yes.
if I do anything away from Singing River, it's you just do not have it,
Yes.
damn near. And even when you do it there, it's like, really, y'all know, you know me, we work together. Why
we work in the same
why are you
way.
charging me like this? But
Yeah.
no, let me jump into the comments real quick. We got a few coming in. Dr. Wayne Rudolphich. Coach Rudolphich.
Coach
yeah,
Rudolphich.
Wayne.
He
Hey,
said-
Wayne. By the way, he's retired. Thank you.
Yeah, we're
And
fixing to get him. we
I
gotta get
haven't had a chance to reach out to him. Thank you, Wayne, for all your service that you've done.
Man,
He was our football coach.
yeah, Joey's.
I'm
Jared
sorry.
Didn't play football.
I didn't play football.
Hey, it was good stuff.
Yeah,
He will push you.
He
He
said
will.
he
Yeah.
said to tell Bryce I used to coach you back in the day, Joey.
There
I'm
it
sorry,
is.
second with you. Okay, so here's the Heather, Joey's wife, in the comment section. Now, we did mention this to you before we went live. We asked about this, but this dovetails in here with the same
She's
teacher's-
crazy.
teacher.
Yes.
Joey says tread lightly. She wants to know about the diversion of public funds to private charter schools with little, if any, oversight. But you were kind of talking to us about that before we went live. Let's break that down because that has been in the news as well. It's
Yes.
part of the Mississippi Constitution, or is it the federal Constitution? I think it's Mississippi Constitution,
Yeah. So
1890 something that no.
yeah, you
State
can't.
funds.
You
Is it
can't
state funds?
use
Yes.
for a private
All right.
interest.
Right.
So let's get into that.
Well, nothing passed. As I was telling y'all, nothing.
And she's
passed
saying
this
private
year.
schools altogether, not just charter.
Yes.
You're right. Nothing passed this year. There is every year a push for it used to be called vouchers and things like that
Correct.
for
Right.
public funds to go to private institutions or
Charter
schools.
Yes.
And but I'll talk about charter schools because that's actually different, to be honest. But the private is to take those funds, state funds, and allow people to go to private schools. That didn't pass, and honestly, that hasn't really passed, other than in the cases of special needs. We did set up a program for special needs kids because what we heard,
Oh, special needs kids.
special needs kids, what
Gotcha.
we heard, and I'll go back a few years ago. The Clarion Ledger in Jackson did a report, very good report, and it showed that basically 15% of your special needs kids in public schools were graduating. 15%.
That's not a good number.
It's not a good number, which actually that's why. And what I had heard was that your public schools were not doing a good job at that point.
Probably because they weren't equipped to handle that. I would
Don't
assume.
disagree.
Okay.
Or underfunded.
Or
Okay. In that department,
Yes.
or,
Correct.
or
Yes.
totally or both.
So that's why you had that program. But I think that's improved over the years.
Yes.
So then the public charter schools, and notice I said public charter schools, they are public schools. They're not private funds. They are public. And back in 2000, I don't know, 14, 15, 16, we set up a public charter school program in the state of Mississippi that is used public funds. They are public funds, and it's a public charter school, and it's just a different type of school. We also have a different type of school called a school of innovation, which means that if you set up schools to do certain things, you have certain benefits or you get certain red tape removed.
Okay.
Okay. So there's all different kinds of school and school districts.
Okay.
The private stuff you're talking about are what I would call vouchers. And so far, the Mississippi legislature has rejected vouchers.
One key thing, because I'm pretty much outside on this one looking in. Joey's involved, and his wife Heather obviously very involved. You just said something. There is a such thing as a private charter school, but there is also such thing as a public charter school.
Correct.
Did you say that? Okay.
That's right.
Okay. I did not know that.
And what's
Back-
a,
and I
what's-
think maybe
what's
that's
a
where-
public charter school? What? Give me an example of that.
Versus a public school. What could
Right.
you explain
So-
the difference?
I forget the names, but let's just say.
And if this isn't your area of expertise as far as that's concerned,
no,
we understand
I've
that
been
as
on
well.
the education committee and
Okay.
and done that.
You said that.
So
That's right.
so I'll use it as an example. In Jackson, Mississippi, you got bad schools. Okay,
Yes.
this is a fact. Okay,
Yes.
there are many people who want something different, and so charters were able to come in and do that. I'll give you let me rephrase it. After Hurricane Katrina in New Orleans, okay, they were wiped out.
Right.
Their school system, which was public, they are now 90% charter schools. Okay, public charter schools.
All right.
Okay,
All right.
but it's a public charter school that, with public funds, it's just set up a different way, and there's certain requirements and things like that. So, and it's open to different people, public students, and all of that kind of stuff. So,
So they get vouchers and still get money from the state.
It's not vouchers. There is an issue about where the money goes. So if you're it's been a while since we did it, but if you're a public, it's all based on funding, and your school districts, including like Biloxi or Pascagoula or whatever, they get funding based on their enrollment
Correct.
that they have.
How many seats?
Correct. And
there.
if they go to the charter school, then that funding gets diverted to the charter school from that student. But it's the same way. We have the Mississippi School of Math and Science.
Yes.
Okay. If a student from Pascagoula goes to Mississippi School of Math and Science, then their funding goes to the Mississippi School of Math and Science.
Is that considered an innovation or no? That's just something.
That's a separate school that was set up. You have the Mississippi School for the Arts, which is in, I think, Brookhaven.
Yes.
Same thing. These are very specific type of schools.
Okay.
And that's what a public charter school is.
Okay.
Okay. To do that. What I think where things get sideways is on the vouchers, where it says, okay, we, the government, are going to give you funds, and you can go over to, in my case, Resurrection. We haven't done that in the state of Mississippi, and I don't see us doing that.
I feel like that's how it was being talked about when the conversations.
Didn't the charter schools just get in trouble in Jackson?
No. So what happens is, in the charter schools, you have a charter authorizing board. Okay. And then they are subject to the same ratings as your public schools, A, B, C, D, whatever. Okay. And then what happened, the difference about charter schools is, if the charter school performs low, like as an F or whatever, they can be revoked, and they have to go back to to your regular schools.
Public schools, yes.
Okay. So what you've seen is some have performed well, some have not.
Yes.
And there's some in Jackson that haven't performed well. The issue in the legislature, and I made this question to the new director of the charter board. I said, look, we have a law in place. If they're failing, you need to follow the law, because that's the deal. Okay. A lot of times, or a number of times, what happens is they go, oh, they make excuses. Well, no, you were set up as a charter. You were going, and here's the thing, to be a charter, there's literally a list of maybe 50 things you have to do. By the way, one of those things that we set up was, you have to have exhibited a history of teaching and school academic performance. You can't just be like Brice Wiggins going to set up a charter school.
Gotcha.
You have to have that. So there's all these things, but they have to be held accountable. And that's the thing.
I'll read another one. Dr. Rudolphich said that Pascagoula Gaucher is a district of innovation.
Yes.
He said that. And then Joey, your wife, again says, so these comments come in, so maybe it was a little bit further back.
If y'all I'm going to have to sleep at
home.
I'm going to have to sleep in my truck
tonight. She'll hit me too if I don't bring this up.
I want to know if Dr. Rudolphich likes Star Wars, by the way.
Oh, he's a big fan.
Here we go. He's going to blow that up for sure. She did say that taking funds from bad schools doesn't make them better. She said ESSA reinstated the Elementary and Secondary Act to help improve schools in need. Anybody?
I think that is a federal program.
Don't talk to her. She knows way more than me.
That's a lot. I'm not sure about that. But let me say this about. I'm going to give you another example. So there's a thing called conservatorship. Okay, and I'll give you a personal example from being on the committee. We had Greenwood School District, okay? And under law, before I even got there, it said if you're a low-performing school district, you're going to be put into receivership, okay? And what that means is that you're not doing things right.
Right.
You're not doing it, and the state's going to take over.
Yes.
Okay. We were up there, and we were discussing about what to do in the case of Greenwood. And they were sitting there. And what we heard, the state took it over and appointed a receiver. And that receiver said, look, he literally said, this is the Friends and Family program. He said, this district is being used to give people jobs and not educate. There were kids who were going into buildings who were let's just say the buildings were falling down,
right?
Okay, and yet they were paying their employees exorbitant salaries and all that. Yeah. Okay, and this is the receiver who was put in, and these Greenwood folks were sitting there going, oh, you don't need to take us over. Oh my gosh, what about these children who were sitting there who were wanting education and they're not being given that education?
Yeah.
This is where that's a problem. Okay. We have great schools on the coast as a whole. And I think
the only one on the coast that got taken over was Moss Point.
Well, they haven't been taken over yet. They were close. Yeah. And the superintendent there actually has done a good job of trying to get them, but that's correct.
Yeah.
And so my point is that as a state, we have to look for options to help these children who are in these positions. And look, the charter schools, literally, traditionally Democrats have been against it, but the Democrats championed some charter schools in places where their schools were failing. Okay. It's about that things are used for other reasons besides education. And so there's a lot more to it.
Every issue is.
By the way, charter schools, I read the book. Charter schools got started back in the 1980s by Democrats by public school supporters who felt like things weren't working right. So, look, there's different tools to address different things. And I hope I haven't put you to sleep.
No. This is why we're here. I mean, this is.
I think it's
people that are listening want to hear this political. That's why we're doing this.
At the end of the day, it's about the children. Okay, those children didn't ask to be in a failing school district, and what I have seen is at the end of the day, while I think people maybe intend well, it's not working, and we have to step in and do something.
Yeah.
I think I don't think it's that. I think it's just the funds.
I agree with
where
that.
It goes.
Well, you think about a school district gets funded per its population,
butts and seats,
but also the industry that's in that community. Correct?
Yes, and I'm gonna get it confused, but there's a thing called average daily attendance.
Yes.
And average something attendance.
Yeah.
And many have advocated for a better system because the average daily attendance gets skewed or whatever.
Yeah. So, It's no secret that you could have a house on one side of the street in school district A be worth X amount of dollars, and a house on the other side of the street, if it fell that way, school district B be worth way more money because people want to be in that school district. Ocean Springs School District being one of those that everybody desires to be in because it's just crushing every measure of a school district. So it can work, public school.
Let me tell you.
Excuse me, I said that wrong. It does work. Okay.
It does work.
And this nation made a commitment, getting to the federal conversation that we're about to get into, made a commitment to public education a very long time ago. And the fruits of that commitment are shown every single day, right? You can't have a situation where people can't get educated, at least at the high school level, because people want to say that public school could be considered a version of socialism, right? Or whether it's taxes that's given from everybody, whether you have a kid or not, right? I'm talking the most extreme view of it, but it works in that situation.
I'm sorry.
No.
My son was valedictorian at Pascagoula High School last year. My daughter is a junior at Pascagoula High School.
So you're a public school guy.
Yes, and she's participating in the teacher academy program and loves it, wants to be a teacher.
That's what my wife teaches.
And she from what I've been told, my daughter's going to be the star of that program.
Average daily membership.
Thank you. Thank
Dr.
you.
Rodolphus.
Dr. Rodolphus. Thank you. Thank you,
Thank
Dr.
you, Mr.
Rodolphus.
Coach.
I don't like that. I mean, I respect his title, but I like Coach Rodolphus.
But so my mother's been a teacher. We send our kids to public schools. I've helped out in public schools. It's what is the foundation. I've seen even on my congressional campaign where I go, public schools are the foundation. But there are people who believe that there's private schools and that's best for them. My point has always been that's fine.
Right.
There's a separation between private and public. If you want to send your kid to private school, that is your choice.
Correct.
Okay, that is your choice.
Yep.
Sure.
And that's what you can do, and that's America.
Correct.
Okay. But you have to understand that where problems happen is when you send your child to private school, and then you think I should say this, that the benefits that you have as a public school should spill over.
Correct.
Yes.
And that's no different than when you hear of churches asking for COVID money. Right? I mean, they don't pay taxes, they're tax exempt.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the same thing, right? You can't go to a private school and expect public
state funds
or bailouts, whatever they may be,
right?
In whatever form they may be.
I mean, it's a complicated issue, but it's I've said this, and Dr. Rodolfich knows this. I said the state of Mississippi needs to look at what we're doing on the coast, including Pascagoula, and
who he had a
replicate
big
that.
hand in
He
that.
did.
Oh, he had
he
brought it up.
The problem, and I've said this stat. I've said literally, and I've been on the Senate Education Committee for, I guess, almost 11 years now, 10 years now, that we spend 75 to 80% of the education policy that we do in the state of Mississippi is because of the 35 to 40% worst part of the state. Okay. And then what happens is we do that, and then it affects the Biloxi's and the Pascagoulas and the Ocean Springs. And what we need to do is let them do what they do well and stay out of their business, so to speak.
Yeah.
Does that
make sense? Doesn't feel good.
No.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, and that's what better transition into the federal politics. I felt like we covered the state stuff pretty good, and I appreciate you answering those questions.
I appreciate y'all having that discussion, because not
Thanks for making me sleep in the driveway tonight, guys.
Yeah, right. No,
but just remember,
she's not blowing up.
Just remember, I gave you your pay raise, and you can do that.
You did.
Right, there you go.
Did.
So let's slide over.
But
can we get
you know what? That's important too. So in a
since you're here,
2-teacher household, that's good.
It's been a long time coming, but we got it.
I know. I agree with that.
All right, so let's start with you, and then we'll get into the big issues, right? Because we got to talk about them. I mean, you're going to run for a federal position. You got to answer the big questions, and you got to tell people where you stand on those issues. But why transition from a state senator representing your districts that you've already mentioned, 52, to the federal level?
To
what
US
was your
House of Representatives.
correct? Yeah. What is your motivation, and what
it's a good question.
Made that change?
That's a good question, Jared. Because I'm sick and tired of what's going on in DC. The self-interest and the self-dealing that we see going on has got to stop. Will it stop completely? I can't say that, but we can stop right here.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. And as I said earlier, our local representative has become part of the problem, if you will. It's a fact. He has ethics violations. Okay. There was a point, and y'all may be too young, but there was a point where the 4th district, it used to be the old 5th district, but the 4th district literally was respected in DC. Like, we dictated what happened. You had Ingalls Shipbuilding. Okay. 70% of the Navy's ships.
Correct.
Okay.
Carried weight.
You have Chevron, the largest refinery in the country. You have Keesler Air Force Base, which was voted by the enlisted folks the best place to be. Right. You have Camp Shelby, which is a regional staging ground that could be used. People listen to us. They're not doing that. Okay. And we need to return back to where we once were. This district at one point was represented by Senator Trent Lott. Yes. I'm sorry, who became a senator, became the majority leader of the U.S. Senate. It's the old, y'all are too young, but the old commercial, when Payne Weber speaks, people listen.
Yeah.
When we would speak up there, people would listen. They ain't listening now.
Right.
And so there was a time where we were able to dictate that. We haven't had it. Okay. And I'm about what I can do. My kids, I tell this, I've told this on the campaign trail, and people know it. When Hurricane Katrina came, I was working in the DA's office. I loved what I was doing. I was serving my community, fighting crime, all that good stuff. I found myself in a place that I never thought I would find myself, and that was looking through a 18-wheeler for diapers for my 2-month-old daughter, Grace.
Right. You said
the
this
one
on
I
the
was
last
talking
show.
about.
Yeah.
I said that last show.
Yeah.
And it was at that point when everybody was assessing their situation, I said, this is too important. Went on, and I left my job, cut our family income in half, ran for the Senate, defeated a 3-term incumbent, and we won. And since that time, I've been in the legislature and passed. We went from 0 early education, one of only 10 states to not do that, to top 5 in the country. We have a balanced budget. We gave the teacher pay raises. We did all that. We got things done because I want it to be for my kids and my family's future. I see the same thing going on in the country. We have a $30 trillion debt. Okay.
Huge.
We have rising gas prices. We have inflation.
Mm-hmm.
We have all of that. I'm sick and tired of it. And people need to stand up. And from a more local perspective, we deserve, and we have a district that should deserve a leadership position in DC that we used to have, that we haven't had, honestly, in probably 11 or 12 years. And so that's what's motivating me to do that. And the things that I just related, we've been successful of getting those things done, and people have encouraged us to do it. So that's why I'm running, and I want to see the best. I love South Mississippi. I grew up here. My grandfather was a welder at Ingalls. My great-grandfather, his father, without barely a high school education, founded Wiggins Drug Store in Jackson County and became the mayor of Pascagoula in the 50s. His son, my grandfather, retired from International Paper. My father was the first person in our family to go to college, and he became a doctor. It's about hard work. It's about the American dream.
Right.
Yes.
And that's what we're lacking up in DC. And so I feel like I have the skills. People have told us from where we've been that we have the skills and the desire to do it. I have the desire and the experience to do it. And look, the current incumbent from that perspective talks about seniority and all that. Look, I've been on appropriations. I know how appropriations happen. I will tell you this, and you can go on our website, bricewiggins.ms. It's out there.
There it is.
Right. Jerry St. Pay, who led Ingalls for decades, Jerry St. Pay is supporting us. Jerry St. Pay said, we need someone who is experienced and brings leadership in armed services and appropriations, and that's why I'm supporting Brice Wiggins. Okay? This is the leader of Ingalls Shipbuilding. Okay? If
Huge
anybody
support.
knows,
Yeah.
he knows.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
And back during the 70s, as y'all may know, Ingalls was at its height. Then I think it's actually doing pretty good right now.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
on a rebound.
That's correct. But and I helped on some of that. So anyway, that goes to the why of why we're running. So you may have other questions.
Oh, I got a ton of other questions.
Okay.
But no, it has to start with you. We have to know your motivation. Without motivation and desire, as you mentioned, why do it? Right? Is it just prestige? Is it title?
No.
Is it advancement? Or is it?
I'm glad you brought that up.
Wanting to
Because,
help.
Right.
Look, I talked to you about when I left the DA's office and ran. Okay. What I didn't say was I cut my family income in half.
You said it. No, you
Yeah,
said
you
that.
said it.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
said that. Yeah. And just now.
My wife hadn't let me forget it. So I cut my family
As
income
they
in
do.
half.
As they do.
SpaghettiOs.
As they do.
Right?
SpaghettiOs.
And so I talk about on my website, again, bricewiggins.ms.
Keep saying it.
There's a post up there about servant leadership, and it talks about how particularly those in DC, but how your elected officials have forgotten what their job is, and that is to put those they serve above themselves.
I couldn't agree with that more. And
Absolutely.
I don't think that there's a more important macro philosophy than that right there in our current.
That's good.
Yeah, I'm not as
He's
dumb as I
versed.
Yeah, I'm not
He's very
not as
versed.
dumb as I
Yeah.
look. In the current political climate, when you see people that are trying to dictate from their pulpit, right?
Correct.
Laws to people. And me and my wife were talking about this last night. It's not only that that's bad enough, that their logic and their reason don't even connect. So today in the news, the leak,
Yes,
Supreme Court about Roe versus Wade being leaked, when you have Joe Biden on television talking about how, which he did another one of his famous gaffes, is you should have the right to abort a baby. He said baby, where typically you shouldn't say that. You should say pregnancy. He muffed that. That you should have that right, but that he also is for vaccine mandates, which to me seems as a bit of a conundrum. I don't know if you agree with that or not, but that's how I feel.
Science.
Again,
right.
Well, that's a good segue, by the way.
Yeah,
that was good.
Yeah,
that was good.
Yeah, I've talked to Dave Elliott. I know.
That's right.
I've studied Dave Elliott.
He was on your podcast.
He was.
That was good.
Cool
the
guy.
mandates. No, and speaking of that, I literally took I went to the Senate floor during the legislative session and spoke out against the Biden mandates that put Ingalls in a position.
Yes.
The problem was that this is what happens, right? Ingalls is the cornerstone of the American Navy. Okay.
Correct.
And because of what Biden did, it put Ingalls' leadership in a predicament.
Feet to the fire. Yeah.
Feet to the fire. And it's that overreach that's a problem. And people were leaving their jobs.
Yes.
They were leaving
on principle.
$70,000 or $80,000 jobs, and they didn't need to be there.
Correct.
And since that time,
in that situation, you mean?
In that situation,
yes,
that's right.
To clarify,
and you know that goes back to the government overreach. People are myself, and I think I said this maybe when I was on the show before. I was vaccinated.
Yeah, I was vaccinated. I'm double vaxxed myself.
My children are vaccinated. We lead by example. That being said, it doesn't mean the mandates or government overreach doesn't need to happen, and it's about. I don't know why the first answer is government overreach or government mandates. Okay.
Correct.
Let it happen. Yes. It was terrible. It didn't need to happen. And I will be the first one to say how things played out and how the government handled was bad.
Mm-hmm.
Terrible. We need to look at it and see how we can get better.
Slow, yeah.
Okay. But yeah, I don't know how we got off on that, but Biden
because of me.
Biden didn't need to do that. And that's ridiculous. And that's that's their answer to, we're going to do more government mandates. No.
We don't.
And I took the Senate floor and talked about that and said, we're not going to stand for that. So it's that's the leadership that we need in the 4th district. And I do think that people have seen that, back to the servant leadership, that the elected officials need to put those they serve above themselves. And I've said it that our greatest ever servant was Jesus Christ, who subordinated himself to everybody, gave his life for us.
Right.
Okay. And we need to remember that. And us public officials need to remember that. And unfortunately, there's too many things coming out of DC. Sorry, but Nancy Pelosi's still there. Unreal.
Unfortunately.
Okay. At what point are we going to say enough is enough? And by the way, I will say this, that stands for our current incumbent. At what point are we going to say we are better than what we have? At one point, we led DC, and that ain't happening again.
No.
And we've got somebody that has ethics violations. And if you talk to the public, like I have, that say he's not around, he doesn't show up, he doesn't come on podcasts, we had a debate. We literally had a debate last night in Ocean Springs. You had every Republican there except him.
Yeah.
Okay. We had one last week. He didn't show up.
He's big timing y'all.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. It's a political move, for sure.
It's a political move,
but not the one that I agree with.
But people are tired of politics.
Correct.
To that point.
Correct.
People are tired of they want stuff done. People are tired of politics. They want them to their interests to be served, and I'm about serving those interests.
I agree. To explain the current political situation, which from every person who is political podcasts that I listen to, representatives, the whole entire gamut, they all say that it's more polarized than it's ever been, that the game is changing, that everything with social media being the way that it is, it's a completely different environment, a completely different climate. I don't think that's saying anything that no one knows. I think you have to start, if I want to ask you a few more of these follow-up questions, with 2016 and Donald Trump. He came in and kind of changed the game. And I personally, go on record right now, I never thought he had a snowball's chance in hell of winning the presidency.
Dominated.
The first time. I didn't even trust that he wasn't just a Democrat in Republican clothing to out the gate. Right now, I'm talking when he first came out. I'm not talking during his presidency. What did you feel like when he came out? Again, because we're talking federal politics here. Were you on board with him to begin with or not? I was not. I just
no. I mean, look, I think what you said is my initial assessment. Okay, that's why
I led with that, to show you how I feel.
You wanted to know if he was sincere.
Correct.
You wanted to know if he was legit.
Yeah, and all of that. Well, all of that stuff. But what people or at least what we should have realized, is that he was, to his credit, he was hearing stuff that needed to be heard, or that people were saying, I should say.
Correct.
Okay,
Correct.
and that's how he got into the White House. In particularly within the Republican Party, they were out of touch at the time.
Yes.
In that sense,
yes.
They were out of touch.
Thank you.
And I've said that. Here's what I've said: that the last time that the Republicans controlled all branches of the government, what did? We lost it.
Yes.
Okay. What have I said that's happened in the state of Mississippi in the legislature? When I first came in to the legislature, the Republicans controlled the House of Representatives by 1 vote, 1 or 2 votes. That was the first time Republicans took over. Since that time, we've created a supermajority. We have a supermajority. We have a balanced budget. Passed the largest teacher pay raise. Passed the largest tax cut. We've early education, which has been a thing of mine, top 5 in the country. We've made policy happen. Okay, so the point being is, up on the federal level, they didn't know how to govern.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
And that's why we need Congress to change and to understand how to govern with the people and not be out of touch. Okay. On Donald Trump, in that sense, no, my assessment was what your assessment was at the time, but that's why you have politics, and you have to listen. Now, I will be the first one to say, or I'm not the first one, but I will be the one to say that I do think that if Donald Trump has played his cards differently, he would be in office. The problem is that
yes, yeah, meaning
that's the problem.
And Joey off camera made the mouth right, and the mean tweets, and he's a very polarizing figure, right?
Correct.
He gives people ammunition sometimes.
Correct.
I feel like, and
he runs his mouth.
Who the hell am I? But
the policies I support, and I
go.
think the policies I've been 90% of the policies I supported. By the way, Ronald Reagan said, if you vote with me 80% of the time, you're not my enemy, you're my friend.
There you go.
Okay.
There you go.
That's what it
there
is.
You go.
I think too many times we think you have to be 100%, 127% on there.
That's a cult.
It's a cult. I got
Hitler.
news for you. And I got my degree in history. Our founders didn't set the Constitution up that way. It's a series of compromises, by the way.
Correct.
So 80% is your friend, not your enemy. Okay?
I can live with 80%.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, we ought to, by the way.
Yeah.
I think we've gotten to where we don't recognize that. Oh, that being said, I think that many of the people I've talked to on this campaign and all that, they want something done. And based on what we've gotten done in the state legislature, they see that we're above that. I will give you for instance. I talked about the early education. Okay. At the time when I first came in, Mississippi literally was one of only 9 or 10 states to not have an early education program, and we were falling behind.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I authored and passed and got done the early education program that's called the ELC, and we are literally now top 5 in the country in a model for the nation. Okay. People don't know
that's
that.
the preschool stuff, right?
Yeah, that's correct. Okay. And we got it done. And during that time, when we put that forward on the Senate floor, literally a part of my party, the Republican Party, tried to kill that bill, tried to attack it. Okay. And I said, this is about the people. I'll tell you another instance. When many of you mentioned Singing River Hospital.
Yeah,
okay.
I worked there.
So the Singing River Hospital debacle that happened.
Retirement.
Okay.
Yeah.
So after that happened and people lost their pensions and all that, I was in the Senate and I put forward a bill that was going to change what got us there, and that was the transparency that the hospitals were operating under. I literally fought the hospital interests in the state of Mississippi that did not want that bill. And literally what happened was I had people from my own district and others tell me, Brice, you will never have a political career if you go forward on
absolutely.
this. They told me that.
Absolutely.
And I said, you know what?
Let's do it.
So be it. I'm here to do the right thing. And we ended up pushing that bill forward. I worked with, at the time, Lieutenant Governor Reeves. We got it passed. And you've seen things better because they are not hiding behind closed doors.
Yeah.
But people don't want you to stand up, and that's what I've done. And that's what
you plan to do moving forward.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah? I'm sorry.
No. I'm just
that's exactly right. And my track record shows that. But people want to be able to control you and to do that. And I'm about the people that send me there and doing that. And look, I've challenged Governor Reeves when I didn't think that he was right. I've challenged that. I'm my own person, and my vote is my vote, and my vote represents those that I represent. So it's something that I'm proud of. And you know what? Sometimes you gotta make what is it? You gotta make to make an omelet. You gotta make scrambled eggs.
You gotta crack
some eggs. Thank you very much.
Crack some eggs.
No, I definitely. And I start with that on the federal questions just to kind of get your big picture view, right? Because this is what people, right? It's the hottest topic that there is right now. I mean, it's where are we moving forward in this country and how are we going to get there? The current administration, I honestly don't know if they're trying to do bad on purpose or not. It seems
they're
that
doing
way,
a heck of a job,
but there are still people that buy into it. There's still people that are drinking the Kool-Aid, whatever you want to call it. It blows my mind. Joey and I have never shied away from where we kind of stand on all of this. And
check my Facebook page.
Yeah, we talked about that earlier. But we want to know, your take on it, and getting into that
on the president. I'm sorry, take on the president, or
well, global federal politics. Let me put it to you like that. And I started with Donald Trump because he's obviously the biggest figure in politics right now, even though he's not president right now, right? And we're coming up on 2024 will be right around the corner before we know it, right? Yep. But I guess we could break down a few issues and then go into what can you do specifically inside of District 4 for the state of Mississippi and kind of keep it still state of Mississippi. But I'm going to assume that you're pro First Amendment.
Correct.
Can I go on out on a limb there and say that? Do you have do you have a problem with Elon Musk buying Twitter?
I do not.
And making the algorithms public?
Great.
No, I think
a lot of people don't.
No, a lot of people don't. But here's what I've said. Okay, sorry, but I'm a lawyer. Okay, so to do that,
right?
Here's what I think.
And a politician.
Yeah.
Damn it!
I know. Private's private.
Yeah.
Okay. He takes it private. He can do whatever the heck he wants.
Ain't that beautiful?
He can do what he wants.
Right.
Okay. So
that's
when
the American
people,
dream.
And I sent a tweet out on this, and I'm sure my political team back there is going, "Oh, you shouldn't have done that, Brice." Well, I did.
Yeah.
I said, "Look, because Republicans are talking about free speech. Guess what? The free speech of the First Amendment only applies to a government actor. Okay. If you're a private individual, you cannot infringe on the First Amendment. Okay, you're looking.
Yeah, break that down for me. I think I don't know if I misheard you or I'm not following. Let's go. Let's break that down.
So what I mean by that is the First Amendment, the U.S. Constitution is a document that limits the federal government.
Correct. Okay.
It does not limit private action. Okay, and what the law says is that
now I'm with you.
That you violate, you have to be a government actor, a state actor to violate the First Amendment. Okay.
Liable would be an example of what you're talking about.
That's right. To do that.
Correct.
Okay. But that's if you're acting through the government. If you're a private individual, you can do whatever the hell you want for the most part. Okay.
Correct me if I'm wrong. What you mean by that is a great example in the news right now, the Johnny Depp case, right? I don't know if you're following that, but it's trending everywhere. His wife at the time came out. Hold on, because this is what he's talking about. Came out and said all this bad stuff about him in the press, and he lost jobs, he lost contracts, or whatever. Now he's in a civil suit to say that, hey, you're not allowed to say that about me without anything without the correct evidence, and now they're going through all their text messages and videos and calls.
Yeah, that's a different
I thought that's
thing.
where you were going with that.
No. What I'm saying
You're
is
talking about Twitter. If I own it, you can run whatever you want on it.
That's correct. That's correct. From the government has nothing to say about that.
So if I own a private business, you can have whatever.
Right,
you
but
want.
let me say this: when you go public and see the reason why, I'm guessing, but the reason why he's going private because he can do whatever he wants.
Absolutely.
Okay.
He's against
when
that
you
board.
when you become a public company, what that means is that you are sending shares out.
Correct.
You are subject to the Securities and Exchange Commission, and that's what he's had a problem
and
with.
A board of
and guess what? You have to say, I've got certain laws I got to abide by.
Correct.
Okay. I'm going to put it this way. You can, if there's a club down there, if you belong to a club that says, I believe that microphones are the best thing in the world, you can do whatever the hell you want. Okay. The government can't tell you in America. That's how it should be.
Right.
Okay. But when you go into a school that's public, okay, that serves the public, that has the government behind it, because by the way, public schools have the government behind them.
Correct.
Then you're subject to the First Amendment, i.e., freedom of expression and all that we hear about going on in schools and stuff like that. This is why I say this. This is why I say if you want to be private, go private because you can do whatever you want.
Right. Religion being another.
Religion is another
Yes.
example.
Right.
So I think back to your point. Yes, I think what he's doing is good. Okay, but when Republicans say free speech, I'm taking the lawyer view. Okay, I'm saying it's a private company. It's a private company. It's a public company, by the way, but it's owned by the private. It's not owned by the government.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
It's owned by whoever, Jack Dorsey or whoever.
Well, it was, but then he went public
correct.
with it, and then he
it's a private company. It's not owned by the government, and so the
you can say
private
whatever you
company
want.
can do whatever they want.
Right.
I didn't mean to get off into that,
No,
but
no,
that's
no.
my point. That's probably splitting hairs, but I think that yes, if Elon Musk does that, he can. I like what Elon Musk does. I think that he has good ideas and all that kind of stuff.
Okay.
Well, I think Twitter went all blue for a while, and they kicked Trump off. They kicked all these other guys off.
Yes.
Now all of a sudden they're back. And now
they cherry picked who had a voice and who didn't, and they had those.
But let me be honest. For where I am, that's their right to do that.
Not
as a private company, that's their right to do that.
But
Brice Wiggins, who owns Taggart, Rhymes and Wiggins law firm,
yes.
Taggart, Rhymes and Wiggins law firm, I can set whatever policy I want. If I say you have to wear, a braid in your hair or whatever, then you have to do it, and the government can't tell me that. I can do that.
The difference was, and I'm going to miss this. Correct, Bill, is the provisions they get under the 264 or the that says that they're a publisher and not an editor. That's the big. That's the difference. That goes against what you're saying.
So what that goes back to a whole other issue about who.
But that comes to the cherry picking. Who
governs the internet? Okay, if I think I.
Correct.
Where you're going, who governs the internet?
Correct.
Okay, and that's a big debate that goes on in Washington and all that, and it's supposed to be open and free and all that kind of stuff.
It saves that provision that designates them as a publisher and not an editor, saves them millions of dollars each year in litigation for lawsuits that they do not have to fight. But then they also take the editorial role by kicking off and removing people, so they're playing both sides of the fence.
But any business does that. I'm not trying to. I'm pushing back a little bit.
No,
because
good. Push back.
Because any business does that. In my role as the owner of Taggart, Rhymes and Wiggins, I have decisions I have to make.
No, I don't disagree on that. I'm saying you don't. You're not at the level of what a Twitter is, and then silencing voices for a political agenda.
Okay, so here's. Okay.
Yeah, make all your employees
Dang
wear.
You got me started on.
Yeah,
let's go.
Make your employees wear blue shirts.
So here's what's happened in my opinion.
Put the gloves on.
Okay, here's what's happened. Do you know what a common carrier is? Do you know what that is?
No, let's go.
Okay. Common carrier is your passenger trains and your airplanes.
Okay.
What a common carrier is it is a private company or private industry that has so dominated the public sphere. It's a public, let's put it this way, a public utility.
Correct.
Okay. And so therefore it's regular.
Power company.
And so what has happened over time, in my opinion, is that because of the what's happened with your newspapers and they've all gone out of business.
Yeah.
All of that kind of stuff.
And gobbled up,
and they're crazy. And they don't have that. And what's happened is your news and stuff has been taken over by social media, be it Twitter, Facebook, whatever.
Or podcasts like this.
Or podcasts.
Yes.
There's an argument, but think about that. There's an argument that they have become a common carrier for public information. Okay. And so then that becomes, should they be regulated as such? But what that means is there's less regulation, but they're serving a public function, and that
Correct.
is that you're getting the word out. What used to be your newspaper,
Right.
okay, is now Twitter.
Correct.
Or what
Right.
used to be your newspaper is now Facebook or Instagram or whatever it may
Brown
be.
water banner.
Right.
Right.
Brown water banner.
Yeah.
So the question becomes that they're a private industry, but they serve a public function. Okay. And so we have to protect that public function. So what I was saying earlier about a private, you can do whatever you want. The fact that remains is that Twitter, Facebook, and all of them have served such a public function.
Correct.
About getting the word out and all that that function needs to be to ensure public discourse. Does
Correct.
that make sense?
Absolutely. 100%
And
for me.
Twitter and Elon Musk has said Twitter is the public sphere or the courthouse or whatever.
A lot of people call it the watering hole or the
Right.
the break room chat area.
Correct.
Right. So and it is that.
And so I think that's where I come from at it, is that Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, they've all become this where people go to share
Watering
public-
hole. That's
Correct.
the thing I
Yeah,
couldn't
yeah,
say
yeah.
earlier.
You said
Jesus.
it earlier.
Did I say
And
that?
so they
Yeah.
need to that needs to be preserved,
Yes, agreed.
because private companies from a purely private perspective can shut it down.
Yeah.
But they've become so valuable to the public discourse
Correct.
that we need to preserve that. And I think that's what's I hope people aren't confused. But
No.
No.
We have a highly intellectual audience.
Yeah.
And we make fart jokes at the same time. So
And we can catch
I'm very
speckled
proud
That's
of
trout.
why I like this.
Yeah,
podcast.
I'm
And we
very
can
proud
catch
of it.
speckled trout.
yeah, that's debatable.
Besides
All right.
Jared.
Let's shift gears here. Joey, you'll love this one. Speaking of speckled trout hunting in the outdoors, Second Amendment. Where are we at on that?
I love it.
Always voted.
You got to
always
hit
vote-
these. You have to
Always
hit these.
voted for Second Amendment. I mean, look right here, Brice Wiggins, pro Second Amendment.
Yep.
Pew, pew.
It was
Pew,
Bro,
pew.
pew, pew, pew,
Yeah.
pew, pew, pew.
was at the NRA event up in Jones County.
Okay.
So I own guns, all that good stuff. So
We're
pro Second
we're a
Amendment.
concealed carry state. We're a constitutional carry state now,
Yes.
right? Within the past 5-ish,
Okay,
something like that years.
Well, the problem is I'm always a lawyer, so I got to do that.
Ah,
The-
cool.
the-
Hey,
the-
free law advice on the show.
Tell
is
us the red
great.
tape.
Yeah.
Tell us the red tape.
So under the Mississippi Constitution, it says that yes, the right to bear arms is preserved, except the legislature can regulate concealed carry. That's what the 1890 Constitution says.
Okay.
And so there is a law in the books where the legislature dictates concealed carry and always has done that. Over the years, there's become a
That's okay.
a what does concealed carry versus open carry mean? At the
Okay.
end of the day, I think we're a fully open carry state. If that's
Yeah.
what you
Okay,
want.
is that what I'm
Okay.
confusing? Because I have a
Yes.
concealed carry permit, but I thought that it changed not long ago that you don't necessarily have to have the permit to conceal carry,
No, it's
or it's open carry. Okay,
Open carry.
okay.
You,
As
to
long
be-
as it's
oh,
visible.
you
Correct.
correct.
Okay.
You, bottom
so
line,
we're
you have a
constitutional
holster.
open.
Yeah.
Oh
If
yeah, I
if
understand.
you have a holster and it's visible, then you're in
Yeah,
compliance.
you get shot first. I get it. Right? I never.
But if
understood
if
that.
it's concealed, you have to have a
But-
permit.
Yeah,
but my
which I
dad and I hunt. My votes. You can look at my record. I got a 92% voting record from the NRA.
So if you go up to DC Forest, you're not letting
Heck
any.
yeah.
When I don't want to get this right. Was it Beto O'Rourke or one of them said we are absolutely in the last presidential election? He didn't make it. He was the Democratic candidate. We are absolutely eventually. He said this coming for your AR-15s. We're taking them from you.
No.
Not happening.
No.
No form of gun control, no matter how much they beat the drum
Correct.
of the CNN's narrative of
Extended
Well, background checks like we have and all that.
Yeah,
stuff.
I'm not against that.
again. I think all of the NRA. I don't know their official stance, but all the Republicans that I know, yes, take a background check. It's not prohibitive of me getting a gun.
No.
I have no problem with that. Right?
Go get a
Well,
concealed
it goes
carry
back- it
permit.
goes-
Right,
Get
I have no problem with that
fingerprinted. You
either.
don't have to do that.
It goes back to the old those who are going to follow the law or
Correct.
follow
Thank
the
you.
law.
Thank you.
And look, I prosecuted for almost a decade in Jackson, George, and Greene counties. I was a prosecutor. Murders, aggravated assaults, drug deals, rapes, child rapes.
Worst of the worst.
Worst of the worst. Worst of the worst. And what I concluded, if I hadn't already made that opinion, was that people are going to do what people are going to do.
Correct.
Okay. Whether you took a gun to do an aggravated assault that was there, you would probably have taken a knife or
Right.
a bat or something
Correct.
else like that.
Like in England,
Okay.
Australia, all
Correct.
these other countries.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
So the from a function of a gun is just an object. Okay, it's an object. Okay, it's the human being. Okay,
Correct.
and the criminal law in that sense deals with the intent of the human being on that. So to ban guns from that aspect is you're what's the word? You're creating another problem to solve a problem. Okay, it's the human beings
Right.
that you need to fix. Okay, there's a reason that person picked up a gun and did what they did.
Right.
If it was a bad thing or whatever.
Right.
So banning guns is not the solution from that sense. Okay, and I don't know if you know the Heller case, but the Heller case was written by Justice Antonin Scalia that made the Second Amendment a individual right that you have under the U.S. Constitution.
Okay.
I did not.
It was like, oh, okay.
I did not. I did not know that.
I don't want to misunderstand you again. That was Second Amendment was in the Bill of Rights, though. Is that
Well, yes, it was, but and this was I guess about 5-8 years ago, something like that. And I don't want to bore everybody, but the bottom line is the Bill of Rights did not apply to the states when they were originally passed.
All right, okay.
It
That
only
makes more sense.
This is what people don't quite understand. The Bill of Rights applied to the Constitution applies to the federal government.
Correct.
States could do whatever they wanted. Okay.
We've gotten away from that, though, right?
We have
In a
gotten
bad
away from
way.
it in a bad way.
Yeah.
And this is again why I'm running, because I'm about restoring where we were from when we founded this country. But when this country was founded under the Constitution, it was that the Constitution was a limiting document on the federal government. The states could do whatever they wanted.
Right.
It wasn't until the 14th Amendment, okay, that applied to the states, okay? And through the 14th Amendment, the Supreme Court over time has said the First Amendment, freedom of speech, freedom of press, applies to states. Let me rephrase it. Okay, back in, let's just say 1800, that the First Amendment did not apply to the state of Mississippi. Like literally,
The state government.
the state of Mississippi could ban you from speaking out.
The state government.
The state government.
Okay.
Okay. They could ban you from speaking out. Okay. It wasn't until the passage of the 14th Amendment after the Civil War that the Supreme Court said, wait a minute, the 14th Amendment allows the First Amendment, freedom of press, to apply to the state of Mississippi, and therefore the state of Mississippi cannot ban you from speaking out.
Okay.
Okay.
I like that. That's great.
All right. Does that make sense?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. So different one. The Second Amendment. Let me back up. So different amendments. The Fifth Amendment right to not incriminate yourself.
Correct.
That was applied back in the day. The state of Mississippi could allow you or force you to incriminate yourself.
Okay.
It wasn't until the 14th Amendment
That you could plead the fifth.
correct. That when you were arrested by the Pascagoula police officer, you can plead the fifth. If you were
Right.
back in 1791,
You had to give yourself up.
correct. And they would force you to incriminate yourself. Okay. All that to say that it wasn't until I'm sorry, 2010 or whatever it was, with Justice Scalia's
That he had made it official.
that
I would
he said the
assume.
Second Amendment is a right guaranteed through the 14th Amendment to the states. And so what that means is the state of Mississippi cannot violate your Second Amendment right. Does that make
100%?
I hope people aren't falling asleep
No,
again.
they're not. I'm
but-
telling you,
No,
they're
they're
not.
still
They're
here.
not. They're not. They're not. And we're gonna
But-
chop. We're gonna chop these up
but
too.
the point is that the Supreme Court, through all of that, has made the Bill of Rights applicable to the states. But there is a lot that goes into this, and I do have the opportunity / privilege of looking at this over time,
Correct.
and we have progressed as a country from that standpoint.
Let's bring this around full circle, and talk about, we've started out with the state government because that's where you're at currently, and then your desire
Luke back out.
to
I know it's like
Yeah, we can talk about
I'm
Luke more
taking
too,
I'm
yeah.
taking Luke back.
Yeah,
with
we're
me.
gonna take Luke back out. But let's bring this full circle and just say, my question to you is this: is what, again, we hit the first two. We hit First Amendment, Second Amendment. That's very big. We could spend another hour just talking about that type of stuff. What do you want to do at the federal level for District 4 for the state of Mississippi that's not being done now? What are the 1, 2, 3 most pressing issues that you see that your the current incumbent is not addressing? How would you deal with them?
We need to change it.
How would you deal with it?
Good question. So I think I already answered that in the sense that we need the respect back to once
Right.
what
the
we
voting
had.
power.
You did.
The voting power.
Let's cut that up a little bit if we could.
Yeah.
Why did it change, and how can you fix it? Right.
Okay. Well, I'll give you an example. When I ran for the Senate, there was a person in there, and I ended up defeating a 3-term incumbent, and people said, "Oh, you can't do that." Since that time I got in, I was the first freshman to be named a chairman in the Mississippi Senate. I was the first Medicaid chairman in the Mississippi Senate. I was on appropriations. I brought $10 million to the Port of Pascagoula. Early education. We've already talked about that.
Yep.
My point is that I made things happen because I was not there to collect a paycheck. I was there to do things,
work. Yeah.
to do work.
Right.
Same thing applies here. The representation that we have, as I explained earlier, people need to be looking at us for what we bring to the nation. Ingalls Shipbuilding, 70% of the nation's Navy ships. Okay, I actually, if you go on my social media, I shared an article that said that Congress was looking at getting rid of the contracts at Ingalls. Well, I'll step up and
Terrible
defend
idea,
that.
yeah.
Terrible idea. I'll do that. Also, our resources, part of being a congressman is about dealing with the issues that what's called the commerce across states. And y'all know about being fishermen,
Mhm.
being what we do, the water that has been unleashed into the Mississippi Sound,
Yes.
that has killed our crabs, that has killed our
Bonnie Carey.
Yes.
Carey spillway,
Yeah.
all of that hasn't been addressed. And we had actually led by Senator Mike Thompson last year, we had a committee hearing up in Jackson where he got the lieutenant governor of the state of Louisiana to come testify on our behalf. Bottom line is Louisiana and the Army Corps of Engineers is not doing
Their part.
to benefit the Mississippi Sound and what we have, that our history is based on fishing and shrimping and all of that, and the Bonnie Carey and all the releasing of the water into the Mississippi Sound. And I'm telling you, I have people supporting my campaign who are not happy with the current incumbent because he has not stood up and done that. And at the end of the day, that's what your congressman does, is to stand up and deal with those issues like that.
The voice of the people.
That falls under the federal District 4 because of the federal waters that it affects.
Yes,
Is that correct?
That's
Okay.
correct.
I know our current lieutenant governor has been involved in that heavily, even when he
Correct.
was Secretary of State. That was like
You-
under his in
yes.
his wheelhouse.
And
Correct.
you've probably heard about the pumps up in the Delta. Have you heard about that?
I don't refresh. I don't think
Okay,
I have.
So up in the Delta, in the Mississippi Delta, there are pumps that were supposed to be put in because of backwater.
Right.
Backwater that was going in through the Mississippi River, causing problems and all that. And the federal government has refused to do it.
I had heard
Okay.
that this is a big flood
Right.
water runoff
Well,
problem that
you
they're
can-
just diverting and saying, "Hey, let's just kick it in the Mississippi River."
Well,
and
they
let
can
it go out
divert
to
it.
the
They
Gulf.
can divert
Correct.
it other ways.
That's what my point. But
Yeah.
they haven't done
But-
the infrastructure. I guess is what you're going
But
with.
from that standpoint, what the problem is that the law that was set up back in after the 1927 flood on the Mississippi River.
we got a comment that says, "Finish the pumps" from Nick Strand.
Exactly. That's what I'm
finish the
talking about.
pumps. Yes.
Finish the pumps. But from 1927, it was set up under the Corps of Engineers, or I'm sorry, the law was set up where Louisiana, in that particular instance, has all the power. Mississippi has none.
Yes.
Okay. And my point is that I'm going to stand up. It's a matter of changing the law, because what the Army Corps of Engineers says is that, oh, well, we're just following the law. Well, you freaking change the law.
Correct.
Yeah.
So Mississippi has its say on that. And yes, finish the pumps. That's what I'm talking about.
I love
Let's
it.
do
And
it.
that's
I
what
love
I'm talking about, standing up there and making those things happen. One of the things that I've learned since being in the Mississippi legislature is part of your job is to be an advocate for your area. And that also means taking on the agencies. And people have forgotten, speaking of forgetting, people have forgotten, we have 3 equal branches of government: the executive, legislative, judicial. The executive enforces the laws, the
Checks and
legislative
balances.
checks and balances.
Yep.
What people seem to forget is that and this is what Congress, to your question, is that Congress has deferred policy making to the executive branch.
Yeah.
And I will sit here and tell you, whether it's President Trump or President Biden or President George Washington, as a congressman, I will be the voice of the people, because Congress is the voice of the people.
Correct.
And the executive branch enforces the laws. Congress makes the laws, and the judiciary interprets the laws. And people have forgotten that. Okay. Heaven forbid I weigh into this immigration.
I was
Okay?
going to ask that.
Okay,
Southern border. Where are
immigration,
we
southern
at?
border. We need to stop the illegal immigration, do everything that we can and to prevent the illegal people coming over from the southern border.
That's
okay?
mean, though.
That means, whether that means
No, I'm serious.
technology, whether that means the wall, whether that
Oh,
means
you said a wall.
cybersecurity, whether that means all of that.
Yeah.
Okay. That means we need to give border security to stop that first. Secondarily, but I would actually put it as 1A and 1B, Congress has failed to step up and address our immigration problem. Executive branch enforces the law. The law that President Trump and President Biden and President George Bush have been dealing with is the law that Congress has dealt them. Okay. Congress has refused to step up. It's time for Congress to step up and address immigration and forget about the political consequences
Right.
and do what's right to protect our nation.
Sovereignty.
Congress literally has not addressed immigration policy since the 1960s. Okay. Until before then, there was about a 20 to 25 year window where Congress would update the immigration policy, legal immigration. They haven't done it because you know what? It's all about what is for them rather than what's in the benefit of the country.
Votes.
Well,
votes,
it's
votes.
just it's a hot potato.
But
Yeah.
but you know what? I'm sorry.
No,
You're
go
getting
ahead.
me off.
No.
It's a hot potato, but you know what? You send us up there to do a job.
Okay, so
Correct.
you're telling me you're not gonna sway to the current political wins, or I don't know, a good social media wins, right? Because I said it a minute ago, it's meaning that people only want to do what feels good right now. People only want to do what is a virtue signal on the internet,
Yeah.
right? It's not
Right.
fun to turn people away at the border. That's not nice. And as Christians, you said you're a member of the Catholic Church, correct?
Methodist, but I
I'm
do
sorry.
have
I was close enough.
folks.
Same,
Close
same,
Close
same,
enough.
same.
Close enough. You know what I'm saying? It's like that's not fun to say. I agree with what you're saying. I'm not saying I don't. you have to be willing to plant your flag in the ground and
Mhm.
say, hey, look, yes, there are ways to deal with this, but just allowing an open southern border for all these people to spill in these border
that's
towns in
wrong. By the
Texas
way, that's wrong.
it's not right.
And I've taught. I literally.
It's not right for everybody,
Okay,
right?
y'all get me started now.
Oh, here we go.
Okay, so Pascagoula, where I grew up and lived, Pascagoula literally is now has the highest percentage of Hispanics in the state of Mississippi as a city, 20%. Okay, the school district literally has the highest percentage. I think that's, by the way, and they're hardworking. They're great.
I knew you were going to say that. Yeah,
100% believe that, because over the years coaching baseball, I've watched that team change.
Mhm.
yeah.
From
Well, first, let's do this too. That's the beauty of America.
Yes,
Number one,
yes.
Right.
is that we are the
But-
melting pot, and most all of ours. I don't know. You mentioned it already. I'm only like fourth generation here, fifth generation here.
My
That came from France and other.
My great grandfather was first generation Swedish who moved to Moss
Yeah.
Point and was a paper hanger in a.
That's the beauty of this country, but it
country.
has to be done
It
in
has
the
to be legal.
in the
But
correct.
that's the point I
Yeah.
was trying to get at
Right.
was when I talk to those folks who have come here and done it right, they are the most
vocal of
Yeah.
vocal of do it right.
correct,
Right.
correct.
And that's
correct.
the thing. They want to do it right. We're a country of laws. Let's
Correct.
follow the laws.
Correct.
And they're here. I was literally at Pascagoula Rotary today, and the director who came, the governor of the Rotary district brought this exchange student through the Rotary program. She's from Venezuela,
Mhm.
and she was talking about how she loves America and the visa that she was going after and all that. She's doing it the right way.
Correct.
Right.
Okay, that's my point. But Pascagoula has the highest percentage of Hispanics. Pascagoula School District has the highest percentage of Hispanics in the state of Mississippi in their school district. Okay, they're here to educate. They're doing it the right way. Okay, and the people that I talk to is like, we're doing it the right way. And let me say this. So Ingalls Shipbuilding needs welders.
Yeah. That's
okay?
where they go.
They
Yeah.
literally are hiring 5,000 people. Okay. I don't know all the reasons, but for whatever reason, Puerto Rico creates and produces first class welders. And so you have a lot of welders from Puerto Rico in Pascagoula.
You know what else Puerto Rico presents or puts
No.
out?
Puerto Rican women.
Great baseball players
Yeah,
that
they
beat me
do.
every daggum year, because their
Yeah.
kids come over here
Yeah.
and they're
They
welding
do.
at the shipyard,
Well,
and they
and-
bring them to Pascagoula, and they got catchers that are throwing
The-
like
the-
90. I'm like,
the-
"Ugh."
I would. Why do they produce welders? Is what you said.
Honestly, I don't know why,
well,
but they do,
here's
and
my-
they come here.
Here's my guess, and I have zero. This is a total guess. I didn't even know that's a thing that may be made up. I don't know, but
No, it's not.
I'm joking. I would assume it's because at some point either the people of that community of Puerto Rico or the government or a blending of the two said, "Here's a need. I have a group of people who don't have a job, and I see a market that needs workers," and they have branched that, which is what you would hope governments of any way, shape, or form, whether it be the federal government, state government, or municipalities, or the local public school system, which is we've talked about with Joey multiple times on this show.
Yeah, this is what we need
To
Get in
bridge
here.
that gap. Don't go get a
Marketing degree.
library studies degree when
Yeah.
your local community needs XYZ person,
Sure.
right?
That's exactly right. But let me go on this side, because I've seen it from my position. Is people are like, "Oh, what are they doing here?" or whatever, and I go, "Y'all,
You don't
they're-
understand, yeah.
They're Puerto Rican. They're American citizens.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
They're working hard. These guys are first class welders.
Right.
I literally was on a soccer. I coach soccer. I was on a soccer field. I saw this student playing, and I thought, oh man. And I talked to her dad, and she's like, oh yeah, I'm here from Puerto Rico, and I'm
Yeah.
a welder. And it's like, man,
Stud.
this is
Well,
awesome, right?
People
Yeah.
need to also realize too that one of the things that makes this country great, and I hope I don't quote it right, but I think it's the 403B visa, which allows you to come if you are a highly skilled in a particular area. It's usually a lot
Correct.
more academic or engineering, software, mathematics, whatever. Doesn't matter where you come from. You can come into this
Correct.
country. Period. You're how do you say this the right way? Like your more blue collar jobs, right?
Right.
It's typically harder to do that to come into this country. But if they're doing that with welders, more power to them,
Send them on.
Correct.
right?
But but to get back to the original question, which is we have a serious problem at the southern border.
Correct.
Okay. And your executive branch is responsible for enforcing the law. Okay. And take away the politics in both the Biden administration, the Trump administration, the Bush administration, whoever have all had problems and issues and all that. Congress has refused to step up and do the job. Okay. This is another factor in what Congress has refused to do, because you know what? It goes back to what you're saying. They're more afraid of, oh, I'm going to win, or the votes or whatever, instead of doing what's right for the country and doing that. And I do believe that back in the day, for whatever reason, there was a governing philosophy of we're going to do what's right for the country,
Correct,
rather than what's right for
you mean like America first?
Yeah.
Put America first.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
And so we need to get back to that, and Congress needs to do its job. And Congress has honestly sloughed off their job and sent it off to other agencies in the executive branch when they need to step up and be the voice of the people, like our founders set it up.
I love it, man. I love it. I absolutely love it.
Good vote, June 7th. I haven't even talked about that.
Yeah, where it is.
Yeah, where's it at?
June 7th.
Okay.
And let me say this, by the way. Thank you. June 7th.
Looks good. Looks good.
Y'all may not know this, and not many people do.
You got to block his face out or it won't work.
It won't close up.
Thank you.
Yeah.
June 7th, which is a little bit of an odd time, but June 7th is when the election is, and it's the only election that's on the ballot June 7th.
Okay.
If you did, Mississippi is one of the only few states that if you turn 18 by the general election in November, you can vote as a 17-year-old.
Oh, wow.
In the primary
I didn't
election.
know that.
I didn't know that.
So if you let's just say you turn 18 in September, you can vote as a 17-year-old on June 7th.
Get out and flex that vote.
Flex
Rock
that vote.
Yeah.
The vote.
I like
vote.
flex better.
And I just sorry.
I'm just kidding.
That's good.
We gotta throw that in there.
That's right.
Yeah.
And we need people, and we have within our campaign. Let me back up. The 4th district, which includes from Hattiesburg down south.
Yep.
We did a census last year. Okay. And what the census showed was that the places that are increasing in population in Mississippi are the coast of Mississippi and North Mississippi. In fact, the bottom 3 counties, Jackson, Harrison, Hancock, grew by 20% in 10 years.
I believe
believe
that
it.
for sure. Yeah.
Everywhere else in the state of Mississippi, except up by DeSoto County outside of Memphis, lost population. The Delta lost population by 20%.
Is it? Are you in contact? Is it Shad White, our state auditor?
Shad's a good, and
he seems like he's doing some really good stuff. I don't know. This guy's very vocal and he's very social media oriented.
I handled a bill for he requested, and I said I will do it. Handled a bill this year. We got it passed. He actually tweeted about it.
Yeah,
because that's where we get our news, by the way.
Correct.
Elon,
Twitter,
right.
First minute.
And yes, Shad is, and that's what. And here on the coast, we have that demographic. If you go to Ocean Springs or Bay St. Louis on a Thursday or Friday night, jumping.
Yeah.
And this is where we are as part of the state. I will be honest. If you go to whatever Northeast Mississippi, that ain't going on.
Right.
Okay. But we need those people to get out and vote. And we, in our campaign, we have had those people get behind us and support us because they see what we're doing and trying to make the South Mississippi a place where people can come. And I will tell you this is an honest to goodness truth. I have been in a lot of places during this campaign. I have met so many people who have come from other states here, California, Colorado, whatever. People are coming here because they like what we have.
They do.
And it goes back to what you said. Why are you doing this? Because we have such a great place to live that people need to know that. And part of what I've learned is being an advocate for our place.
It's bittersweet for me. And I'll use the crawfish example. We've talked about that before the show. Crawfish are amazing. And I get a little bit upset every time I see these companies that are shipping them out to other states because I'm going, these people are going to realize how good they are,
them off.
And it's going to create an increase in price. I mean, it's very much capitalistic, and I get it, but it hurts me a little bit. Same thing. I talk to people all the time around here that are transplants, and they go, "We just absolutely
Yeah,
loved it
but
here,
everybody else
and we
hates
stayed."
Mississippi.
Exactly, and I'm glad you figured it out. Don't tell anybody.
Yeah.
You know, but at the
there
same
is
time,
that problem.
at
I
the
get
same
that.
time, I do
Don't
want our
send anymore.
I do want our state to grow. I brought up Shad because he put out something on Facebook, I believe, talking about, and he had a better way to say it, but the not keeping our intellectuals inside the state. They
Brain
leave
drain.
Yeah.
Thank you. I couldn't remember. I was gonna say brain bleed. I was like, that's not right. Brain drain. Yeah. They're leaving the state,
Close
and
enough.
we gotta keep them here.
gotta bring
we
the big
gotta
companies
in.
incentivize them. State of Mississippi has an extremely low cost of what are we doing? Oh yeah, we're putting that out.
There you go.
Yeah,
And
an extremely.
You have to put R2.
You gotta put R2 right
There you
there.
go. He's R2 endorsed. He told us. He told us earlier.
R2.
Yeah.
R2 has endorsed Brice Wiggins
He
for
endorsed
Congress.
Brice Wiggins for sure, and he knows a lot of shit.
Yeah. Been around for a while.
Low cost of living in this state, and we need the industry.
Lowest taxes in the country, to be honest.
Yeah, and we need to promote that, and we need to have the business, and we need to have the reasons for people to stay here.
But
in this state,
I commend State Auditor Shad White for what he's doing to try to get to the young vote, as we call it.
tell him to come on the show.
To come on the
Co-sign
show.
for us.
But you know what the knock on the young people is they don't vote.
They don't, and that's a
And
problem.
your vote matters.
None of them vote.
But your vote matters, and it matters on June 7th because you can change, and with our politics, the smallest margins can make the difference.
100%. We've seen that
And-
in the elections now more than we
It
ever
was
have.
1% last time. Yeah.
No, that's exactly right. And Shad has done a great job of reaching out to those folks. We have done that. I've worked with the Coast Young Professionals, the Coast Young Lawyers, the Young Republicans of Mississippi.
Yes.
I've worked with all of those folks in our campaign, and because they see where we want to head on this. And I just think I'm encouraging everybody to get out and vote on June 7th because it's just that important.
It is.
To do that.
It is.
Yeah.
that
And
important.
Shad is of that generation, and he's doing well. By the way, Shay Dobson is of that generation.
Correct. Correct.
We
And-
always say on the show, we don't care who you vote for, just go out and vote.
Well, there's
Well, I
that. I
wouldn't say
do
that.
care.
We always say that if you're
Bryce Wiggins for Congress.
yeah, or if
Well,
you're
we
vote-
got to be biased.
yeah,
So
if you're
we're
vote,
just go vote.
when's the date? You said it's June
June
7th. So if you
It's
vote,
right around the corner.
if you vote in Democrats, June 8th.
Yeah.
I know it's Republican
That's
primary,
exactly
but still.
That's exactly
No,
right.
honestly, what have we not touched on? Let's recap everything here. We've been chatting it up. I think we've touched on Joey. Is there anything that we missed? From your
No.
perspective?
I just got to sleep in the driveway tonight.
that's
That's cool.
no. We hit the state issues, and we appreciate you coming out
No,
here
I
today
appreciate what-
for your second time. I want that to be known, and because listen, like you mentioned earlier, with the current incumbent, you don't have to do stuff like this.
No.
You're
Taking
in the-
time out of your schedule to come hang out
well,
with us.
and you're in the hot seat, and you're answering questions, direct questions. You're answering questions for the Senate, which you're only one member of, right? You're
52. that's
exactly, and I understand that, and I appreciate that. But no, is there anything that we haven't touched on? I know you said where can people go to get more information.
Yeah,
We
give us a
mentioned it a
card.
couple times.
Yeah, no, they can go to bricewiggins.ms, find out all about us.
Okay.
And you'll see what we're about. And we have, and this is different from all the other candidates in this race, including the incumbent, which is we have our policy videos out there that from Afghanistan to
Okay.
Second Amendment to First Amendment to getting youth involved in the political process. That's what we're about. You can find that on our website, bricewiggins.ms. Excuse me. I think the biggest thing I would say is talk to people that know us. They know we work hard. They know what we've done in the legislature, and we've put the people above politics, and we have made things happen, and that's what we're about. And I think that's what South Mississippi is about. And God, man, we have so many good things here.
Oh,
We
it's-
do.
it's-
and
it leaps and
I'm
bounds.
raising, and I go back. I'm sorry, I'm raising my kids. My son is a freshman at Ole Miss. Hotty toddy. Is that what you're supposed to do?
I
Yeah.
think so.
Hotty
Okay.
toddy.
I think that's what they do.
Is that what they?
Yeah. I was there for
No cowbells.
yeah.
You gotta go hotty toddy.
I was there for a year. I
And-
think that's what
and-
they do.
And I want my children to come back here and work and raise their families, because it's been a good place for us, for my family. We've gone through different things, but I think we can be a leader. And Trent Lott, I go back to Trent Lott. He used to say, how Jackson County goes, so goes the country. And I do believe that, because I think that what you see in Jackson County in particular is a melting pot, or that may not be the right word, but it's a coalition of what you see going on in the country. And I think we can be leaders. And so I'm looking forward to serving the people in that position. And yes, I am always available. I have social media, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, Elon. I don't have Elon's cell phone.
Not yet, but you're
If
getting
you
it.
got Elon's number, give it to us. We need to get it on the show.
Right.
Yeah.
I have all that. You cannot. I'm in touch. Okay. And I don't know how you can do the job of being a representative without being in front of the people.
Right.
And that's what I've heard, is that we're lacking that. And so, I appreciate what y'all are doing and bringing this to the forefront and talking about these issues, because I do think that what y'all are talking about is important on the Gulf Coast.
Yeah.
And we have a lot to say.
Yeah.
To do that.
And then
And we carry a bunch of weight
And like
Yes,
for
you
the
do.
state.
and like we said, the next episode may just be fart jokes and making fun of
Yeah,
each other.
Star
So
Wars.
you got to keep it up.
So
you know,
can we
you got all of it.
can we close?
I think we
with,
should.
Yes.
I assume we're closing.
We're
so,
closing. Yeah.
The storm. Greedo, he says hello, and Luke Skywalker, he says hello. So he's a good man right there. And R2 and
R2's the man.
I forget this guy.
He's like,
What I don't
RF.
have is the what from the new series, the guy with the
BB-8.
BB. Oh,
Yeah.
thank you, BB-8.
Yeah.
I don't have BB-8. I
Fan
need to get
favorite.
BB-8.
Fan favorite.
BB-8's my daughter's favorite.
Is
So
she-
she's
okay.
Yeah.
BB-8.
They're
is
they're
good.
smart with those droids. They know what they're doing.
Yeah.
They make them cute and lovable. So
May the 4th. That's
may
what
the
I'm
fourth
talking
be
about.
with you. Yeah.
and Revenge of the Fifth tomorrow. So break
Yeah.
your Star Wars stuff out tomorrow
Well,
too.
that's originally the fifth though. Is if you're on the bad
dark
side.
side.
Of thing. Yeah. So
That's
it's
right.
up to you. And it's also Cinco de Mayo too. Speaking
Yeah,
of,
it is Cinco de Mayo. Tacos and margaritos.
yeah. So I don't
I'll
know.
be working.
Yeah, I will too.
I won't.
Senator Brice Wiggins, man, we very much
Thank you,
thank you
man.
for coming in here and doing
Thank
this
y'all.
again. It's you didn't have to
Appreciate
do it, and we appreciate it. We won't put
I
you on
will,
the
and I will give you a promise.
yes.
And I know people say politicians break their promise. No, I won't. If I'm elected to Congress, you will be my first podcast that I will do.
Okay,
Boom.
all
There
right.
it
First,
is.
two things I got to say that. Take that, Jordan and Matthew.
Yeah.
Second, also Shay Dobson. Also Shay Dobson's podcast.
That's right. That's
But
right.
That's so crazy you said that, because I was
Oh.
gonna
Oh
ask
my
you
God, that's what.
that. I was gonna ask
There
you
go.
that.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're all friends, man. Those
No, I
are
know.
really good friends.
no,
of
I
mine,
know.
all of them.
But
No, we don't like any
you
of them.
have my commitment to be the first one.
There it is.
Sorry, Jordan and Matthew.
There
No,
it is.
we'll get them in here. How about
Yeah.
that? That'll even be
That'll
more
be
fun.
it.
No, but I was just fixing to ask you that, so I'm glad you brought that up. But we would be very much look forward to that, and would love to have you on
An
at that
honor,
moment.
yes.
Yeah, and talk about what you've learned in DC at that time, because that's going to be, I'm sure, a whole whirlwind of stuff.
But we're ready to hit the ground running, and we have the ability and the capability to do that.
I believe it.
Represent that South
That's
South
it.
Mississippi.
That's
baby.
right.
Well, I want to thank everybody that watched on the live stream and on the replays. Everybody out there in the
That was a
audio
good one.
podcast,
Super
land,
good
yeah,
one.
and everybody, especially in the comments, man. We appreciate hearing from you. So we got other stuff lined up. We're trying to do a better job of getting it scheduled, but we continue to fail at that. So
Yeah, at least we're consistent.
yeah, we're consistently failing at giving you a heads up. But you just keep tuning in, and we'll keep doing these, man. We appreciate y'all. We'll see you on the next one.